Good morning, Australia. This is Chris Smith. It is Wednesday, the 19th of August, 2026. G'day, g'day. Good to have your company. I'm broadcasting live from the studios of Radio 2SM, that is 1269 in Sydney, and through the Super Radio network, which includes stations in New South Wales, Queensland and the Northern Territory. Thank you so much for joining us and welcome to the Castle of Common Sense. Let's get to the top five, and we've got some movement in the Blue Mountains. The Albanese government, to its credit, has announced it will share the cost of rebuilding and future-proofing the Great Western Highway at Victoria Pass, with the Minns Labor government chipping in as well. Now, the funding will also see an additional eastbound climbing lane delivered, permanently widening that critical link between the Blue Mountains and the Central West. That was greatly needed as well, if any restructuring was to take place. So $100 million has been allocated by the Commonwealth, matching the $100 million committed by the New South Wales Government in the 2026-2027 New South Wales State Budget, bringing the total budget for the project to $200 million. Now, since the closure of Mitchell's Causeway and Victoria Pass due to serious cracking, Transport for New South Wales acted swiftly to diagnose the site failure, but someone had to come up with the money. That's now been done, and that's positive. Now, whether it can be done in time for 2027 or 2028 even, it's a major project. That's another question, but some movement in the Blue Mountains, which is terrific. The NDIS was designed for Australians with permanent and significant disability, but the government says the scheme has expanded well beyond that, with around 760,000 people now receiving support. That's a lot of Australians disabled. Sweeping reforms have now passed the Senate with coalition support, so that will pass the lower house, no doubt, which is Labor-dominated. The government aims to bring that number down to around 600,000 by 2030 and therefore save $38 billion over 4 years. Now, the problem is Queensland is a bit of a stick in the mud. It's refusing to sign up to the program for children with developmental delays or autism who currently receive NDIS support. It's a massive number and it's growing quickly. Health Minister Mark Butler says the government has until 2028 to make sure those systems are ready.
Yeah, many of the amendments are relatively technical. They clarify the policy intent that I outlined several months ago at the Press Club. Some of them are more significant, particularly we talked to the Coalition about some amendments that would tighten even further the safeguards on fraud, the integrity controls, which frankly have been too loose for too long in this scheme. Also, quite significantly, we outlined protections that, again, I announced in principle some months ago for people with higher support needs, to ensure that those people who need 24/7 care would continue to get it. So it's not a change in direction. In many ways, it's simply providing more detail, more clarification around the policy intent that I announced months ago. But I'm really proud of the delivery in the Parliament of this significant plan to get the NDIS back.
Health Minister Mark Butler. Well, Meta's got a bit of a problem. It can't simply scroll past. 4 US states are taking the tech giant to court over claims it hooked kids on Facebook and Instagram. Now, the trial began this morning, our time, with prosecutors and state attorneys general delivering their opening statements. The states are seeking potentially $1.4 trillion in penalties, along with major changes to the way Meta operates its platforms. Prosecutors say features like infinite scrolling, autoplay, notifications and recommendation algorithms were designed to keep kids coming back. Meta denies the allegations, but former Meta employee and whistleblower Arturo Bejar has now told the court the company may have significantly underestimated the harm. The Sydney Swans sexual assault investigation is continuing to unfold, with police still working to establish exactly what happened at that Melbourne hotel early Monday morning. Now, the Swans are considering 2 match suspensions for the players involved, with the club making clear any sanction would be for an alleged breach of its own behavioural standards separate from the police investigation. Now, Victoria Police say detectives from the Sexual Crime Squad have spoken to a number of people, while several Swans players, including Isaac Heaney, Chad Warner, James Jordan and Riley Bice, have been spoken to about the allegations. No one has been arrested or charged. A former NRL gender advisor is calling for the AFL to adopt Rugby League's no-fault stand-down policy, which would see players stood aside while serious allegations are investigated. The only problem with that is the fact that the rule in the NRL is for indictable offences, that is, offences that could end up in the district court and carry jail penalties. At this stage, we're not hearing the exact detail of the offences that these players or a player has been accused of, and so therefore that's hard to simply go to a no-fault stand-down rule. So the AFL is in a bit of a corner on that one. But former AFLW player Kate McCarthy says the conversation cannot simply become about finals, suspensions, or whether players will take the field, arguing football cannot always be the most important thing in the room. That is the state of play. In the Castle of Common Sense, we specialise in the talkback format here. After it made its Australian debut on 2SM in 1967, the tradition continues, and you are most invited to have your say. The lines are open now, 13 12 69. On the guest list this morning, more details have finally emerged on the barbaric slaughter of brumbies in the Kosciuszko National Park. 7,000, we're told, have been killed. I'll play you what the Minister Penny Sharp revealed yesterday and what else has been removed from the park as well. Colourful Libertarian John Ruddock is on deck for us today to discuss these changes to the NDIS and the massive airfare bill racked up by our senior leaders in Canberra. Business Sydney boss Paul Nicolo will join us too to talk about the failings emerging from work-from-home policies. And it's a continuation of Science Week. We're getting biochemist Dr. Judy Moller in to discuss the addictive properties of these very popular electronic cigarettes known as vapes. So Judy Moller will be on the program too. Plenty on the program, including you, hopefully. 13 12 69. This is Chris Smith on 2SM and the Super Radio Network. Well, gee, we had some really positive emails sent to us yesterday during and following our special program dedicated to Vietnam Veterans Day and the 60th anniversary of the Battle of Long Tan. Thank you so much for that. And as part of that broadcast yesterday, I followed the frustrating attempt by a veterans group to seek a meeting with the relevant minister, Matt Keogh. You know, there's no portfolio in the Australian government more sacred than Veterans Affairs. It demands respect, empathy and, above all, a willingness to listen. Yet Keogh has shown a staggering level of regular contempt toward our ex-servicemen and women. And so when the Coalition of Veterans' Voices travelled to the nation's capital this week to sound the alarm on a dangerous federal budget policy, which was an annual $5,000 cap on allied health services, Keogh ran a mile. For ageing Vietnam veterans battling post-traumatic stress disorder and chronic physical pain, this penny pinching is truly a threat to their survival. How did Minister Keogh respond to these former defence personnel? He initially refused to meet them, point blank, saying he didn't have 15 minutes to spare. The bitter truth exposed by furious delegates was that the minister chose to attend an official drinks function. What an appalling insult, made worse by falling on the very eve of Vietnam Veterans Day. The fallout was so toxic that when I spoke with vets advocate John Armfield on the program, the Prime Minister's office had to intervene.
You're not going to believe this, Chris. We've just been summoned to the Prime Minister's office and just walking in there now after the last press conference with Senator Matt Canavan and Michael McCormick. So the government is slowly starting to listen, but it's taken a lot of press and takes a lot of noise to get any traction on veterans issues.
So thankfully they got there face-to-face with senior officers inside the PM's office. And Keogh was dragged back to the table to meet the group. Bearing in mind, he walked in, refused to shake hands according to the advocates, sat with his arms folded and his eyes rolling. what a repugnant fool Matt Keogh is. Yesterday in Question Time, a humiliated minister was forced to stand up and deliver an official apology.
And I acknowledge that I got it wrong in not agreeing to meet with them last week when that initial request came in. I own that.
Such a half-hearted apology, in the safety of the chamber, of course, cannot erase a deep history of disrespect. This is the same minister who has previously tried to slash funding for the Invictus Games and strip travel assistance from the parents of Victoria Cross recipients. Matt Keogh has repeatedly proven that he does not have the temperament, the character or the basic decency required to serve our ex-services community. He has lost the confidence of the people he is paid to protect. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese must find a backbone and sack him immediately. Our veterans have fought for this country. They should not have to fight their own minister just to receive health care. Matt Keogh should go. And I'm already getting emails on this subject because it's been in the news since very early this morning. Peter has written this email. When is the unlikely event that Albo grows a pair to sack Keogh? Our poor sacrificial diggers will never get a fair go. Then again, he's a politician, blatant liar, won't retire voluntarily or even fire his best mate Bowen. But who's going to listen to me, writes Peter, an age pensioner, a nuisance, and in their eyes, too old to have around. We'll take a break and take your calls on 13 12 69.
In C4, the car and motorbike have collided. Burnbridge Creek deviation at Sydney Road. The left northbound lane is blocked. At Darlinghurst, we've got a breakdown on Oxford Street. It's heading towards the city near Pelican Street. And at Blakehurst, a truck has broken down on the Princes Highway at King George's Road. Until Sunday, hurry into Bedshed and create your dream bedroom for less with 20 to 50% off during their bedroom sale. T's and C's apply. Bedshed. No one's better in the bedroom. Tim Govers, the latest traffic on 2SM 1269.
Live. Opinionated.
Had enough of being lied to. A terrible budget, a really terrible budget. Now they're tripping over themselves to change it. We've had a gutful, and I think they've tweaked. Took them a while.
Taking on the big issues and the stories that matter to you.
Now, Bowen's office says the overseas travel was necessary to strengthen international partnerships and position Australia as renewable energy superpower. What a load of garbage.
This is 2SM.
Why do we travel to space? How big is our universe, and are we alone? I'm Dr. Sarah Webb, and as an astrophysicist, I know that big discoveries often begin with small questions. Because curiosity is what drives science, and science is what helps us better understand the world, the universe, and our place within it. There are 2,500 National Science Week events happening around our country. Find an event near you at scienceweek.net.au.
What starts with A and ends with E? Supplements for you and me.
Arbor Vitae, Australia's favourite health supplements for the whole family, are now available in over 900 chemists and health food stores nationwide. Learn more at arborvitae.com.au. Ask for Arbor Vitae at your favourite pharmacy or phone 1300 879 863. Arbor Vitae.
Ozito brushless home and garden power tools are built to work. Tough isn't something you just claim. It's something you prove. It's about handling the hard, repetitive stuff without giving up. Testing what you're made of and what you're working with. When it comes to doing tough jobs around the home, do it yourself. Ozito brushless power tools. Do you? Only at Bunnings Warehouse.
Are you ready to kickstart your career? Choices Flooring is offering paid training for new flooring installers. A Choices Flooring apprenticeship pays you an income while you complete your accreditation in one of Australia's highest paid trades. Work alongside experienced flooring professionals and earn while you learn. At Choices Flooring, our Certificate 3 apprenticeships cover both residential and commercial floor covering installation. To join the team, simply visit choicesflooring.com.
This is Sydney's 1269 2SM.
We may lose and we may win, but we will never be here again. So open up, I'm climbing in. So take it easy.
Live on 2SM. 2SM and the Super Radio Network. Chris Smith, across Australia.
As I mentioned a short time ago, plenty of emails, stacks of them overnight related to yesterday's program. Thank you so much for that. We have spent many, many weeks planning for yesterday, so thank you. Stephen wrote to us, Chris, what a program yesterday, remembering Long Tan Day. I served 6970 and ran an Australian Forces Post Office number 3. I had a dream run, but saw some bloody awful scenes and pathetic locals suffering from the war. Welcomed home by family in Tassie, never by the population. I developed PTSD, skin problems, booze, and a host of other problems, but luckily I'm still alert and vertical. I cherish my time as a postie and the guys I supported. Well said. Wayne in Lismore. Go ahead, Wayne.
Yeah, good morning. Yes. The Vietnam Veterans Day yesterday. What a lot of people don't understand about the Vietnam War, well, particularly a lot of younger people who didn't live when it was on, and I never served. I was only 15 in 1973. But in 1973, what a lot of people forget, courtesy of left-wing politicians and our left-wing media, was that a peace deal was signed where the North would withdraw north of a certain location. The Americans went home, and for that peace deal, Henry Kissinger, the American negotiator, and I can't remember, and I probably wouldn't be able to pronounce the name properly of the North Vietnamese negotiator, were given the joint Nobel Peace Prize, weren't they?
Yeah.
Yes. So, you know, the stigma and the shame attached to the Vietnam War about, you know, well, eventually the North, they signed on the dotted line, and about 18 months later they did Adolf Hitler and, you know, tore it up, whatever, and restarted the war again.
Yeah.
And that's how come South Vietnam got run over and Saigon fell.
It was the result of the war. The departure of the US and Henry Kissinger's, you know, infamous glory, which is exactly what it was, getting the Nobel Peace Prize. It was all just a farce, which resulted in North Vietnam taking the country.
How do you mean? What do you mean by that statement?
Well, I mean that Kissinger was quite happy to take the glory. Oh, look what we've done. We've signed this incredible document. But at the end of the day, by the US pulling out the way they did and thinking that they'd won the war, they didn't count on North Vietnam tearing it up and coming back for more.
Well, you'd think if somebody signed on the dotted line, and that was the terms of the agreement as I understood it. I mean, if the Americans hadn't have went home, that would have been in breach of the agreement. But the bottom line is the North decided that it was worth killing a few thousand more people to gain some more territory.
Yeah, but you could have left a force in the location to ensure that the terms of the agreement were carried out, and he didn't.
Yeah, well, there's something I could go on for a fair bit of. I know what you're saying, a fair bit about that, but the veterans, people who served and those who supported the war shouldn't feel terribly ashamed, as the shame that they've been led to believe they should feel about the eventual outcome, because the eventual outcome was due to dishonesty, not because...
Yeah, true. But you know, do you believe the enemy? Do you believe the communist forces are going to follow through on a document like that? You've got to cover your backside, surely.
Well, I'll go on a bit further then. See, the left in America particularly, now we had anti-war protesters here, and and you see the way that the veterans were treated and stuff. That's well documented. Well, it was at the time anyway, the disgusting way they were treated when they came home. And the North used the opposition to the war in Australia and in America. That was their number one negotiating thing about, you know, why are you... you know, why are you here trying to stop the war? Your own people don't want to do it. Well, Nixon bombed them into submission. He bombed them until they turned up at the negotiating table, and then he bombed them again to make them sign on the dotted line. And the left media, particularly in America, never forgave Richard Nixon for ending the war. That's why they pursued him so relentlessly over the Watergate thing. And it's coming to be accepted now that he didn't authorise or know about the Watergate break-in until after it happened.
Hey, listen, Wayne, we've done 7 minutes on this. I think we can probably agree with some of that history, but, at the end of the day, given the fact that it was Vietnam Veterans Day yesterday, what came after the war was just as horrific as what occurred during the war. Thank you very much for your call, mate. I do appreciate that. Okay, we've finally got some transparency from the New South Wales government over the plight of the Kosciuszko Brumbies. It's not all bad news. Let's start with the bad news. More than 7,000 Brumbies, they say, have now been killed in the Kosciuszko National Park. Most of them shot from helicopters, a moving helicopter, a sniper in the helicopter, and a moving Brumby. And the New South Wales government is still insisting these animals don't suffer, which is total garbage. The government says the cull is necessary to protect the park's fragile alpine environment, which was repeated yesterday, and it's also trapping and rehoming horses, which we weren't aware of. They're controlling other pests as well, and looking at longer-term population control, not through the barrel of a gun. That's some of the good news. But thousands of horses are still being killed from the air. And the government's claim that this is humane is being challenged by animal advocates and politicians who say the fear, stress and the pursuit involved in aerial shooting cannot simply be ignored either. But there are other methods that can be done. Now, some of them are. Horses are being trapped and rehomed, 50 this year, we were told. So that's good. There are facilities and sanctuaries taking them in. Other pests, like wild deer, wild pigs and wild dogs, are also being removed. That, I presume, means culled. And the government has even said yesterday that fertility control will be a longer-term option. Why wait? It is the obvious path. It is what the Americans do with their Mustangs. They don't shoot from helicopters. And they are the gun-toting nation on earth. The issue was put directly to Environment Minister Penny Sharp yesterday, with Mark Latham describing the cull as barbaric.
In my long time in politics, I've never seen such grief expressed by a vast number of horse lovers in New South Wales. And what is the situation with the slaughter of the Brumbies? Do you acknowledge the grief that so many of our residents feel? And at a minimum, can you give a commitment to stop the barbaric practice of shooting them from helicopters, which results in a very prolonged and sad, tragic death for these horses on the ground, and very often their foals as well?
Look, there's a few things in that. Look, I really acknowledge that for a lot of people, particularly horse lovers, this is very distressing. We have done a significant control program in Kosciuszko over the last few years. It has removed over 7,000 horses from the park. Not all of those have been from helicopters, but the vast majority of them have been. We still continue to do rehoming. You would be pleased to know that in the last month we've rehomed 50 horses. The last operation that we had wasn't just about horses, it was about other invasive species. So the operation took out over 2,000 deer, 350 pigs, foxes. There was also foxes and dogs. I don't have the exact number. But it is the case that we will continue to do these operations. I do really want to reinforce, though, that horses that are being controlled by this method, by being shot from helicopters, are not suffering. The entire standard operating procedure for this means that the horses are basically become insentient in less and mostly dead within 30 seconds. This is not something that I know. People like to hear about. It's a distressing thing, and I never thought that I would have to be speaking so graphically about the way in which this occurs.
Can I ask how you know that the horses die within 30 seconds, given that shooters say it's inaccurate to be shooting from a helicopter because it's moving so quickly? No, the helicopters move on. What on-ground verification have you got of that?
So you need to understand there's a whole sort of standard operating procedure, but the weapons that are used, I think, again, there's a bit of a misconception that the shooters are aiming to take one shot to kill a horse. That's not the way it operates. They use very high-grade weapons that often use multiple shots, 7, sometimes up to 15, which guarantees that the horses die very, very quickly. It's not this sort of one shot and then they're harmed and then they're wandering around and then the helicopter has to come down and deal with it. There is constant maintenance of it, and that's the way that it's done.
Sharp says the horses are killed within seconds of being shot and insists animal welfare is a priority. She doesn't know any of that. There's no one, as Mark said, on the ground testing whether a Brumby is dead or not. Animal Justice Party MP Emma Hurst says the time frame doesn't account for what happens even before the shooting, including the pursuit, the possibility of stressed horses smashing into trees. The government wants to reduce the Brumby population to 3,000 by mid-2027. This is their aim, although the whole estimate on population has been inconsistent from the get-go. But they're not done, as you heard. The next round of aerial shooting is due to begin later this year. I'm sorry, but this is an international embarrassment and an animal welfare disgrace. Let's take a break.
2SM Sydney traffic.
In Beverly Hills, a crash on King George's Road at the M5 motorway. In Lane Cove West, a broken-down truck hits at the exit to the tunnel westbound. And in Granville, a broken-down truck on the M4 motorway. That's westbound at Pitt Street. Enjoy the finer things in life. Experience extraordinary living at the Bay Tree, with limited 2- and 3-bedroom residences now available. Discover more at ardency.com.au. I'm Tim Govers with the latest traffic on 2SM 1269.
By now, you've heard about my March 2027 tour through the Netherlands, Belgium and France with Colette, and I want you to join me. Experience the classic architecture, narrow canals and centuries-old stone bridges of Amsterdam. Visit Holland's storied windmills at Kinderdijk. Enjoy special tickets for the world-famous Koindekhof Gardens. We'll wander the charming cobblestone streets of Bruges, taste our way through France, enjoying a tipple or two at Champagne House. Glide along the Seine River, savouring delicious French cuisine and Paris's celebrated landmarks. Enjoy breathtaking views and legendary cuisine at an exclusive Eiffel Tower dinner. Colette handles all the details. Your only job is to have the time of your life with me. Interested in joining me? Come and meet me and the folks from Colette to learn more on the 24th of August at 10:30am, or visit 2SM or 2hd.com.au for details, or call Colette on 1300 162 337.
Darren's days of digging blind are over. Ever since he blindly dug into that internet cable and took out an entire neighbourhood. Ever since his insurance declined to cover the repair costs. And ever since he saw that he was millimetres away from also striking a high-voltage electricity cable. Don't be like Darren. Always search before you dig online before every job to avoid striking buried pipes and cables. Search before you dig online every time. And never dig blind.
Since 1960, humans have landed on the moon, demolished the Berlin Wall, and Aussies have won 13 men's and women's cricket World Cups. During that time, Narva has been lighting the way. For over 65 years, they've been a trusted name in transport lighting. From premium driving lights and signal lighting to globes and auto-electrical accessories, Narva has solutions for every truck. Built to perform from the first delivery to the final kilometre. Discover the complete transport range at narva.com.au.
Growing a business is rewarding, but cash flow pressure can be stressful. Supplier invoices, tax obligations, payroll requirements, it all adds up. Octet can power your business with smart business finance. From lines of credit to unlocking cash from unpaid invoices, Octet helps your business move forward. Plus, you can choose to earn frequent flyer points on eligible payments. So, keep cash flowing, seize growth opportunities, and be rewarded. Find out more at octet.com. That's OCTET.com. Lending criteria and conditions may apply.
All the news and up-to-date traffic information you need. 2SM. Super Radio Network News Update. Brought to you by Norwegian Cruise Line. Set sail with Norwegian Cruise Line. Europe's leading cruise line.
Diane Coveney-Garland, what's happening?
Thank you, Chris. More funding has been allocated to fix the Great Western Highway at Victoria Pass. Meta is being sued in the United States amid allegations it intentionally tried to addict children to Facebook and Instagram. Manly's been named the best beach in the South Pacific, and a new player signed on for the Broncos. We'll have those stories and more at the top of the hour.
Thank you so much for that, Diane. Now, John Ruddock, MLC, is the leader of the New South Wales Libertarian Party. He never ceases to amaze with some of his policy analysis, but we love having him on the program. John Ruddock, welcome to the show.
Good morning, Chris.
I mean that with all respect, of course. Total respect.
I'm flattered. Thank you very much.
So these 63 significant changes to the NDIS have passed the Senate and will now be rubber-stamped by the House of Reps. It cracks down on fraud further, makes the scheme more sustainable, and will save $38 billion over 4 years. Have they gone far enough?
No, they haven't gone far enough. But look, we got to be fair because we all love our country more than anything. The government is not the country. We love the country. We don't love the government. But Albo from the left of the Labor Party is doing, he is reining in a big welfare program. And this is good news. Okay, now, does it go far enough? No. The Libertarian Party wants to abolish the NDIS. Now, the Liberals, this was a joint venture between the Liberals and Labor, the old NDIS. If you go back to what Tony Abbott was saying and Julia Gillard saying, they were competing to say who loves the NDIS the most. Now, what's happened, of course, is if you subsidise a disability, you'll get a lot more of the disability. If you subsidise anything, you'll get a lot more of it.
And that's exactly what's happened.
Well, with this autism, okay, so I was at school in the 70s and the 80s. I can't remember anyone walking around saying, I'm autistic. Now, look, every school ground had a couple of odd kids, okay, but, everyone went through an odd phase. Okay, so everyone at any point in time the teacher could have said, this kid's got autism, let's slam some pills into them and let's get mum and dad some free money from the government to help them with this terrible, terrible thing that's happened to them. Now, we've got as today, Chris, we've got just over 350,000 people in this country getting money from the NDIS because they've got autism. Look, a lot of people with autism end up being like intellectual savants, like really smart about certain things. So it's just being a little bit different, and that's a good thing.
And it doesn't come under the category of profound disability, which is what both sides from the major parties were expressing the NDIS should be all about.
Look, I reckon there's probably I'm not an expert in it, but my hunch is that probably 1 or 2% of people walking around out there and saying, I've got autism, probably have got severe autism, and they've got a problem. And yes, a good Christian country like Australia is going to help people in a bad situation. Now, there's arguments about the best way to do that, but anyway. But yes, these other people. So there's been what NDIS has done is it's created a ton of people now, little kids who are walking around thinking, there's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with my brain. And I don't like, and then when they get them on the NDIS with all the autism, they've got to take all these pills all the time. I don't think it's getting the pills to affect their brain. I'm suspicious about the whole lot. I don't like it.
Okay, I got stuck into the Veterans Affairs Minister, Matt Keogh, at the start of the program. You're aware of his snub, no doubt, to veterans this week. He refused to meet them. He had a drinking function to go to instead. And then when he was told by the Prime Minister's office to meet them, arms folded, no shaking hands, etc., a mealy-mouth apology in question time yesterday. And he's got prior form for this over the years. He needs to go, doesn't he?
Well, I believe he will go. Now, Albo's in a bit of a difficult position at the moment, so he's not going to want to. He's just going to want to sweep this under the carpet. But next time there is a cabinet reshuffle, and there is usually once a year, there's some reshuffle. Mr. Keogh, I suspect, will not be the Veterans Affairs Minister anymore. Now, I watched the live press conference with the spokesperson for these vets that went down to see him and had the unpleasant meeting. And I watched it and I thought, okay, well, this guy's not lying. This guy is absolutely authentic. And that's why it has sort of gone a bit viral, because the guy You know, he's a veteran. He served his country in a pretty serious way. And you can just tell, okay, this is a true blue Aussie, and I believe what he's saying. And I thought the lowest allegation, which I believe, is that he says that, you know, Matt Keogh was all excited to go off to Yarralumla and go and have a cup of tea with the Governor General at Government House. But then Al, because of people like yourself and others have made this an issue, Albo's officer said to him, "Oh, mate, you've got to go and meet with him." Yeah, and so he walks into the meeting and he basically says to the veterans, "Oh, well, I'm meant to be at Yarralumla, but I'm here with you bums anyway. What do you want?"
That's exactly how it turned out. That's exactly how it turned out.
That's right. So, you know, these Labor Party people, they all think they want a republic, but, you know, you just give them half a chance to get down the driveway at Yarralumla and they'll just jump at it.
Isn't that true? Isn't it funny? They love the pomp and ceremony and the VIP functions and the free drinky poos, but, you know, we don't want a constitutional monarchy. But anyway, hey, the Telegraph today revealed that the Prime Minister spent more than $4 million on travel last financial year, $1 million in 93 days. And, of course, we know what a CO2 emitter Chris Bowen is from his flying around the world, despite taxing the hell out of everyone else who emits it. Have they not heard of Zoom, John?
Well, good question. Good point. Yes, that's what they should be doing, 100%. It's the same thing. Sometimes I'll have 6 Zoom meetings a day. Okay, it's very efficient, and you can get through it very quickly. And you know, you don't have to brush your teeth. You know, you don't have to make yourself look perfect. Now, I was doing a little bit of. I was thinking about this. You know, because look, I've been following the news since the 1970s. When I was a little kid, I was a weirdo. Probably had autism in some direction. But I remember thinking to myself, you know, when I was a kid, it was like a really big deal when the Australian Prime Minister went overseas. We thought, oh, he's going to China or he's going to America.
That's right. It's like
people would follow. But now, because it was a rare thing, okay, but now it's basically standard practice. And I did a bit of research in preparation for talking to you this morning. And I looked it up. Robert Menzies was the Prime Minister of this country for 18 years, and he had 20 overseas trips in 18 years. So that's about one a year. Yes. Okay, well, sounds about right to me. Now, as with a lot of things, Chris Smith, and you and your family know it more than most, a lot of bad things in this country started with Gough Whitlam. And Gough Whitlam was only there for 3 years, and he went overseas 14 times. So he's gone over there almost the same amount of time as Menzies. But Menzies was in the lodge for 18 years, and Whitlam was there for 3 years. Howard was there for 12 years. He had about 2 trips a year. He was out there, you know, planning the great Iraq Liberation War, of course. Now then, Rudd, Abbott, Morrison have basically almost averaged 1 trip a month. Now, remember, Menzies was 1 trip a year. ScoMo, of course, he was too busy saving us all from COVID. He couldn't go overseas that much. But Mr Albanese does break the record. In his first 18 months, 18 overseas trips.
Good research.
So that was 1 a month. Now, it's not just Albo. It's world leaders all around the world. That's what's happened. They've all got the same trajectory. It just goes up and up and up. Now, the bigger question is, what the hell are they doing when they're getting together for all these soirees? Yeah. Now, this is where all the bad stuff comes from. This is where they go over there. They go to Geneva and all the New York and London and all the cool places, and they get to stay in the presidential suite, and they get treated like an absolute king because they basically are kings. Okay, we call them presidents and prime ministers, but they're basically kings these days. And they just love it, and they hang out with all these other kings. Okay, and it just goes right to their head. And this is when I believe that people come out who are very skilled at manipulating people, and they say, look, you know, we've got to go hard on this global warming stuff and this woke stuff and all the other bad things. Because one example is Scott Morrison wins the 2019 election. He says, you know, vote for me because I love coal and I'm not going to go down the renewable road, and we're sceptical of it. Okay, he wins, and silly Bill Shorten was saying, you know, vote for us. We're going to go hardcore on all that stuff. But then Morrison goes over to one of these international soirees in Glasgow or something. He comes back, he says, oh, I was wrong. We've got to go hardcore on the global warming. Okay, so he's listening to the people at these international conferences more than the Australian people who'd made him the Prime Minister.
It's true. It's so true. And yet, since COVID, we've had the onset of audio-visual connections.
Yes.
Through, Zoom and others, and there are many others, more than any other time in our history, and yet the politicians have ignored it and just pushed it aside. And so often, John, you know how this works.
I think it's a great point. I think there should be an international campaign to say all these world leaders can talk on friggin' Zoom.
Yeah.
I think, and they should be saying when they're making a sacrifice to help save us from the global warming apocalypse, because they all go along with it. Okay, well, put your money where your mouth is. Have a Zoom rather than a big trip.
Correct. And the other thing is most of these trips are already pre-designed, preordained and organised. All the statements are written, and all they're doing is when they fly is anointing what's been agreed to about a month beforehand.
Oh, that is absolutely, listeners. What Chris Smith just said is 100% right. It's all worked out by the top people in DFAT and all these departments and the equivalent in the other country, and then the prime ministers get together for a photo op.
Yes.
And what happens after the photo op? The most fantastic cocktail party you could imagine. Beautiful people, famous people. They might be in Canada. They might be in Ottawa, Canada. So the media's gone away. They've all gone down to the pub. Then the real party happens, and they just get a thrill out of it. People like Albo and ScoMo, these pretty average type of people, they just sort of think, oh, wow, I'm meeting the Prime Minister of Canada. I'm meeting the Governor-General of Canada. And they just think, oh, it's so fantastic. That's what it's all about.
You have nailed it. I think we've both nailed it. I want to go down to the Shire in Sydney and talk with Bree, who's rung in after you've mentioned the great Bob Menzies. Go ahead, Bree.
Hello.
Hi, Bree. You've got to turn your radio off and then you can go ahead with what you've got to say.
Oh, it's Marie.
Marie, go ahead.
I know you like the facts, not the theories. I was born in 37, and it didn't matter whether you voted Liberal or Labor, they pulled together for this country. You were talking about Sir Robert Menzies. He went to England every single year and took his friends with him. But the difference was he paid his own way there and back, Chris.
Oh, great research again.
And one thing about Anthony, he'd been in politics, for 20 years? Never mentioned what he'd do, according to Bromwell and Bishop, if he got into politics. Well, there's one thing he'd never done. Travel the world. Well, he certainly made up for it, but that was at your taxpayers' expense.
Yes, Marie, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. Thank you very much for your call. One last one, John, before we let you go. So this ICAC inquiry into Liberal Party donations has been on mute this week. Is it likely to result in charges, or is this sort of one of those typical ICAC public embarrassment processes?
Well, I've been on a bit of a campaign, Chris, to sort of really bring to the public's awareness that ICAC and the Sydney Morning Herald have a murky and a very, very close relationship. And the Sydney Morning Herald has been the press agency for ICAC. But just yesterday in the Sydney Morning Herald, Bevan Shields, he wrote these very words. But the ICAC is yet to produce a smoking gun that definitively proves he orchestrated or knew of the scheme. Based on what we know, prosecutors may be far from convinced this is a slam dunk case of electoral fraud. So we're not even close. I mean, to be found guilty of a crime, we all know you've got to be found guilty beyond reasonable doubt. So there's not the big doubt is here whether there's even enough to sort of get it to the stage where anyone would be charged. Yeah. Now, this is on everything we've seen so far. I'm confident that nothing has come close to a crime. Now, I am not ruling out in the next week or two something that will be a little bit different, like not so much related to what we've seen in the past. It could come out. Okay, so let's see. But still, if something really bad comes out, then it should just go straight to the police anyway. We shouldn't have this intermediary. ICAC's like purgatory, okay, for all the Catholics out there. It's like limbo. It's like you're not in the legal system, but you're getting accused of being a crime before you're even found guilty of anything.
Yep. It's very true. No doubt you'll get a stern letter sometime this afternoon from ICAC.
Yes, I'm sure they will. The East German police, yes.
John Ruddick, great to have you on the program. Thank you very much for your time.
Good on you, Chris. Thanks, mate.
Leader of the New South Wales Libertarian Party who's done his due diligence today, John Ruddick.
2SM Sydney Traffic. Granville, truck broken down, the M4 westbound near Pitt Street. Now traffic remains fairly busy going through there. Blakehurst, another truck broken down. Princess Highway, Lane 1 southbound past King George's Road. The 40 Winks House of Temper sale is here. Up to 50% off Temper mattresses and bases. Hurry, end Sunday. T's and C's and exclusions apply. 40 Winks, serious about sleep. I'm Ian Wallace with the latest traffic on 2SM 1269.
Simple or complex wills, enduring powers of attorney and appointments of enduring guardians. I've spent close to 40 years listening and advising. Zabo Solicitors, szabosolicitors.com.au. Call me to update your estate planning documents.
The game doesn't slow down, neither can you. Pressure rises, every second counts. Some traditions hold strong, the smart ones evolve. Quick repair or full rough-in, SharkBite Max performs under pressure. No heat, no glue, no downtime. Less time on one job, more wins across the week. Plumbers, stay ahead of the game with SharkBite Max.
Sheds come in all sorts of shapes and sizes, but if you're after a shed, go and have a word with the family-owned team at Best Sheds. The sheds at Best Sheds are up to a staggering 40% cheaper than the competition. Wow, 40%! Plus, all their sheds come with a 20-year manufacturer's warranty, and you can choose from the standard range or customise the shed of your dreams. So, come on, team, let's hit the sheds. Best Sheds, 100% Australian-owned and manufactured. Visit bestsheds.com.au.
For 50 years, Struddies has been helping local sports teams play and look their best. Whether it's kicking goals, scoring tries, smacking runs, to shooting hoops. That's 50 years where Struddies have done whatever it takes to make your team look its best when it plays its best. From local sports clubs to the school and business sports attire. Get your gear at your sports buddies. Struddies, Australian family owned and operated since 1975. Remember, shop with Struddies because they're your buddies. Gear up at struddies.com.au.
When you drive an Isuzu D-Max, you'll find adventure is everywhere. With up to 3.5-tonne towing capacity and 2.2 or 3-litre engine options across the D-Max range, you're sorted. Anytime, any task. Since 2008, thousands of Aussies have relied on their Isuzu D-Max to go their own way. And they'll tell you, adventure is everywhere. Go find yours in the Isuzu D-Max. Visit your Isuzu Ute dealer today.
1 in 6 Australian children are living in poverty. 8-year-old Anna doesn't have what she needs to keep up at school. With your help, children like Anna can access the learning support they need so they can build a better future. Search the Smith family and donate today.
News, information and entertainment. This is 2SM.
Angus Taylor has weighed into the veterans issue this week. He says, he's basically saying, is this really how you treat those who served our country? Show them the respect they deserve and scrap the cap to allied health services. Keep up the pressure, I would say. Peter in Taree wants to talk about the Brumbies. Go ahead, Peter.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Mate, what is happening down there in the high country is not only happening down there. There's a kill going to be up near Coffs Harbour at the end of this month.
Uh-huh. Who's told you that?
It was on the local news. I was in Coffs Harbour.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's on the local news up there. They need thinning out up there because they're just running riot up there. You know, they have not got a clue how to manage the national parks. They manage it by locking it up.
Yeah.
And then a few boffins go in there and decide they're going to cull. Where these horses are being shot and killed and all this mayhem is going on, hardly a white man's put foot in a lot of this country.
Yeah, you see, this is the problem when it comes to bushfires and comes to pests overtaking areas that they want to protect. If you just lock it up, as you say, Peter, you end up having monster bushfires, not just normal ones, and you end up having thousands and thousands of brumbies and a huge problem, which, bizarrely enough, is solved by snipers in a helicopter shooting them in the head.
You know, some years ago there was an access road between Seal Rocks Road and Tea Gardens,
right,
for rutile mining, and it was a beautiful road, probably a dirt road. When they finished there, they had to pull it up, and because you weren't allowed to get in there.
So that was from Mile Lakes, the northern end of Mile Lakes, right up to Seals Rocks.
That's right. It used to take about half an hour, or about an hour.
Yeah, I know the area very well, yeah. I camp there on a frequent basis, yeah.
Well, you would be lucky to camp there now because you can't get into it.
Right. They've locked it up.
They lock it up. They just lock it up and don't let you in there.
Yeah.
I went down there one night many, many years ago, and they were culling horses then on horseback. And there was about half a dozen horses on Burdigan's Gap, which was up on the highway. And they drove them down towards the coast. And the fellow stopped us on the road and said, just be careful when you're coming back from fishing because there'll be a couple of horses that got here. But we come back about 4 hours later and there was over 100 horses. They didn't know how many horses were in there.
Yeah, but if you don't lock these things up and you give access to those who love that kind of adventure and hiking and all that sort of stuff, you know what you do? You end up not having to cull huge numbers. You can rehome them, run fertility programs, leave the choppers on the ground, and at the same time you might actually clear some area so we don't have monster bushfires at summertime.
There was a bushfire there about 4, maybe 5 years ago down in that area, in the back of the Mile Park. They couldn't get into it. At Kalungalup, you couldn't move for helicopters here dumping water on it. And the stupid part about it was that they carted water for the helicopters to fill up. They wouldn't allow them to fill it up out of the national park.
They were locking the joint up even when they're dealing with a major disaster. That just sums it up completely, Peter. Thank you very much for that. See, that's when the greenies start to infiltrate the bureaucracy and make decisions that are completely out of whack with what needs to be done in terms of bushfires and pests, feral pests like brumbies. So then you get this major problem at the end and everyone's scratching their heads and saying, oh, how did this happen?
2SM Sydney traffic.
Northmead, they've cleared a crash on Windsor Road northbound at James Roos Drive. A Granville truck has broken down the M4 westbound at Pitt Street. Lilyfield, City West Link, still carrying a lot of traffic onto the Anzac Bridge. An FBI agent out calculating female serial killer and a pursuit that pushes every boundary. Emmy Rossum stars in the gripping new thriller, Furious, now streaming on Disney+. I'm Ian Wallace with the latest traffic on 2SM 1269.
When she said to me, your son has cancer, my world just fell apart. It was a nightmare. He didn't want to get out of bed. He just felt miserable. The Starlight captains were doing their round and they knocked on our door. By the end of that first meeting, my son was basically in tears of laughter.
If you believe seriously ill children like Tayo should have a happy childhood, please donate monthly at starlight.org.au.
At Bunnings Trade, no matter where you are, we're here to help. We have trade specialists in-store dedicated to you and your trade. Whether it's sourcing supplies, quoting on jobs, or arranging delivery direct to site. And our builders team with dedicated account managers has got you covered at every building stage, from the front fence to the back gate. Plus, you can call our Trade Assist team on 134872 for quick quotes on a wide range of supplies, saving you time and hassle. Bunnings Trade. Helping business is our trade.
For repairs and maintenance to your strata unit, complex or commercial building, you need Network Construction Services. With over 70 years of combined industry experience, Network Construction Services are Sydney's most trusted remedial builder. Whatever it is you're after, the experts at Network Construction Services will complete your job on time, within budget, and to the very highest standards of workmanship. Find out more at networkconstructionservices.com.au or call Steve Chain on 9808 5673.
Top fullbacks run over 9 kilometres a game. That's sustained performance. Just like Host Plus, who have sustained strong long-term returns over 20 years. A top-performing super fund? That's a plus. Issued by Host Plus Pty Limited. Past performance is not a reliable indicator of future performance. Consider the PDS and TMD at hostplus.com.au before deciding. Search Compare Host Plus today.
For 185 years, Elders Real Estate has been embedded in the fabric of our country. So when it's time to buy or sell in your part of Australia, you need a trusted name. Someone who knows Australian real estate like no other. Who understands that it's not just a house. It's your past. It's your focus. It's your future. Someone with a network that runs deep right across Australia. There's one name you can rely on. Elders Real Estate.
2SM, Sydney.
Good morning, I'm Diane Coveney-Garland. The federal government's allocated $100 million funding for rebuilding the Great Western Highway at Victoria Pass. That matches the allocation of funding by the Minns government for the stretch of highway in the Blue Mountains, which was closed in March because of cracking and movement. The Federal Minister for Infrastructure, Catherine King, says the bridge at Mitchell's Causeway was built by convicts.
Who knew? 200 years. It's done pretty well. It's extraordinary, but really this now is, it's beyond its lifespan and can't be resolved in the way that, you would normally look at just patching things up. You have to actually do so. In essence, we're building a new bridge on top. The old bridge, or the convict and the heritage part of the bridge, will stay underneath, and that's important to keep that heritage there.
Sanctions against Sydney Swans players will be handed down this afternoon when the club's CEO faces the media. Swans management says the sanctions are completely separate to the police investigation and relate to breaches of expected club behaviour and standards. 4 players have been spoken to by police about an alleged sexual assault in a Melbourne hotel after a late-night drinking session. Calls today for urgent changes to poker machine hours and access. The Sydney Morning Herald's exposed a secret high rollers room at Club Marconi, which requires a minimum spend of $500,000 a year for membership. Reverend Stu Cameron from the Wesley Mission says the machines need to be turned off at some point.
Nothing good happens in a poker machine venue at 3 o'clock in the morning. We need to power down pokies between midnight and 10 a.m, and we need account-based gambling so that we can not only prevent harm, but also, as the Crime Commissioner has so powerfully pointed out, reduce the risk substantially of money laundering activities.
Police are investigating a fatal stabbing in Sydney's inner south. Emergency services were called to a unit on Pitt Street, Waterloo at 7:20 last night to reports of an assault. They arrived to find a man suffering stab wounds who was treated by paramedics and died in hospital. A woman who was in the unit at the time suffered minor injuries. Parents of premature and ill babies in the neonatal intensive care unit of a hospital in Sydney's southwest can now see the infants around the clock. The Angel Eye camera system has been set up in the NICU at Liverpool Hospital. Health Minister Ryan Park says that means parents and carers can view the babies in real time.
These children and babies are cared for around the clock in special intensive care units, and now this is an opportunity for parents, no matter where they are, to view their baby and see how it's going, as well as communicate to an incredibly hard-working and specialised clinical staff. And I want to really advocate for the staff for really pushing the government to introduce this type of technology.
A landmark trial is underway in the United States. Meta is being sued by the state of California for billions of dollars. California says Meta knowingly hooked and exploited children to get them addicted to Instagram and Facebook. In sport, opening batsman Jake Weatherall's been dropped from Australia's squad for the second test against Bangladesh and replaced by Matt Renshaw. West's Tigers' Adam Dewey will undergo a shoulder reconstruction after being injured in round 9. That means he'll be fit to play for the start of 2027. The Broncos' Reece Walsh has had ankle surgery after being hurt during the game against the Warriors last weekend. Hayes Perham's talks with the Broncos are progressing. He'll replace Walsh for the rest of this year.
Everything's looking pretty positive, so yeah, hopefully, it gets confirmed and we can get that over the line.
Aussie Adam Scott will be playing in the Australian Open. The former world number ones competed in the tournament 20 times. Rory McIlroy and Cam Smith have also signed up. In finance, the All Ordinaries has opened at 9,274. 1 Australian dollar's buying 70.80 US cents. This is Super Radio Network News. Cloudy with the chance of a shower and light winds becoming northeasterly. We're heading for top temperatures of 20 in the city, 22 in the west. Looking further ahead, possible showers tomorrow, Friday and Saturday. At the moment in the city, it's 14 degrees, 15 at Bankstown, 16 at Penrith, 14 at Richmond, 16 at St Mary's. That's the latest news. Now, Chris Smith across Australia on 2SM.
Chris Smith across Australia.
We've got some details coming through about Swans being stood down. We'll get the latest for you in just a second and make sure that we're accurate about names and punishments. We'll get to that in just a second. But lovely email here from Barb and Pete Robbins. Pete and Barb say, I just wanted to say we are from WA in Perth and holidaying with our caravan. We're in Moree and moving slowly this week. We both are in awe of you and need you to come to WA and come to our radio stations. We're very happy to shift the program to further network stations, Barb and Pete. Have a chat to your program manager in the station of your choice. Have no words. We listen to you from morning to lunch every day. Absolutely wonderful. You've made our stay in Moree, listening through 2VM, no doubt. Fantastic, Barb and Pete. Lovely email, which buoys us all, gets us all in a positive mood right here in the Castle of Common Sense. Now, Peter Cochrane knows all about these Brumbies, but he hasn't just rung to comment on what we've heard yesterday from the Environment Minister. He wants to talk about Veterans Affairs policy as well. Peter, welcome to the show.
Listen, in regards to over the past couple of days, Matt Keogh and Veterans Affairs are spot on. I mean, but there is a hidden agenda behind all this. And those of us who are caught up in national service starting in 1965 are now hitting our 80s. So what you have is the national service extended from 1965 to 75. So you're going to have a raft of men arriving at their 80s, around the 80s, all suffering from sciatic pain from jumping on and off bloody trucks and in and out of aircraft and all those things you do as a soldier. So all suffering with sciatic pain, back pain, leg pain, all these other things. And this cap that they put on with regards to the $5,000 cap relates to pain and extended pain. So they've identified, Veterans Affairs have identified that they've got 10 years in front of them of veterans from the Vietnam War and others who served during that period of time, all arriving at the same age with the same chronic problems of extended pain. I'm one of them, actually. I suffer from severe sciatic pain, and it's something that you can't describe. And anybody that's had it will know damn well that when it hits you in the middle of the, in your back, it runs right down your leg into your foot, and you can't walk.
Yeah.
Driving becomes, a nightmare. So that is the reason why they've specifically identified pain as the first issue. The second thing is they've capped it at $5,000 because they know that treating this condition takes a long time to heal. So that's the reason for it. There's no other reason specifically identify those issues.
Yeah. But he needs to go. Keogh needs to go, Peter, doesn't he?
Oh, Keogh's a dead loss, yeah, absolutely. And the way he treated those diggers that went in there, the last couple of days, appalling. I mean, for him to set the priority wanting to go and have a couple of beers with the Governor-General, in preference to sitting down with some diggers who have some very real issues, like the ones I've just explained, then, you wonder where the bloke's priorities are. He obviously has no interest whatsoever in veterans, and the arrogance of the man, the description of him when he met them didn't bother him, the regular, traditional Australian way of greeting is amongst a mob of blokes, say, g'day, shake your hand, and how you going, and
just appalling. Hey, Peter, I've just got to interrupt. Just stay there. I'm not getting rid of you. Stay right on the line. I now have the full details from a statement given and issued by the Sydney Swans a short time ago. It is huge. Sydney Swans players Riley Bice, Nick Blakey, Isaac Heaney, their best player, James Jordan and Chad Warner will not be considered for selection for the remainder of the 2026 AFL season. The AFL is supportive of the club's sanctions. We respect there is an ongoing investigation by Victoria Police, and the actions we have taken today are independent of this. They are a set of player sanctions that we've never seen before, especially related to the allegations put forward by the women who came to that hotel at 4 o'clock in the morning. Just repeating, Riley Bice, Nick Blakey, Isaac Heaney, James Jordan and Chad Warner will not play again this season for the Sydney Swans. They are sitting second on the ladder. Could easily have won the premiership in 2026. That won't be happening given the setting aside of 5 star players, including Isaac Heaney. That won't be happening. Wow. There are repercussions for what occurred on Monday morning. Let's get back to Peter Cochrane. Peter, we've had enough of Keogh. Let's put him aside. And those veterans, as you say, are ageing and they need more support than ever. But just briefly on the Brumbies, 7,000 taken out. I'm very happy that they're now taking out other invasive species, things like the goats and the dogs and the wild pigs and the deer, etc. That had to happen, and you and I have spoken about that. They're doing some rehoming, but this business is about fertility programs. They've got to get on with it.
Can I say it's a bit late to get on with it because there's bugger all left. There's very few horses left up there, and this is an absolute catastrophe, not only for the tourist industry in which I'm involved in the Snowy Mountains, but also the cultural history of this country is very much tied up in those horses. Yeah. You cannot believe that Penny Sharp was saying that inquiry in the upper house of the New South Wales Parliament that it's okay to have 10 or 15 shots at a horse. It's okay if it takes 10 or 15 shots to kill them. For goodness sake, doesn't she realise the movement of the horse, lying on the ground, and they're hovering around the damn horse with helicopters ploughing shots into it, lying in agony on the ground? I mean, what is wrong with this woman?
Yeah, the Americans think we're a bunch of hillbillies in New South Wales. That's what the Americans think.
I cannot believe it, Chris.
Yeah, I've got to leave it there, Peter. I've got a guest on the other line I've got to get to. Thank you so much for your commentary on both these issues.
Yeah.
Good on you, Peter Cochrane, the former member for Monero. For those on the open line, I'll get to you in just a short moment. We have cleared a little bit of space to take as many calls as we can in about 5 minutes from now. But working from home was meant to be this great workplace revolution. And we got a taste of it, of course, during COVID. But it's been taking off in places like Victoria, for instance, and in various corporate scenarios. But there's growing evidence that it's more harmful than advantageous. Now, in Victoria, Premier Ben Carroll has delayed his controversial plan to give workers a legal right to work from home 2 days a week, pushing the start date back from September this year to July next year. Business groups want the law scrapped altogether, warning they could be costly, complicated and damaging to the broader economy. And then there's another concern. If Victoria makes working from home a legal right, it makes sense that other jurisdictions, other territories and states start demanding the same deal. Business Sydney Executive Director Paul Nicolau has been warning about the pitfalls of working from home for some time. Welcome to the program, Paul.
Morning, Chris. It will be a huge problem if that gets off the ground, and businesses are telling me right across the board that remote working has weakened productivity, reduced workplace engagement, and has created significant costs for both business and government. It's a huge problem for Sydney and a huge problem for business right across the country.
And for those who haven't been across the news, in courts in Adelaide, we've had cases, and one very well-publicised case where someone tripped over in their own home, working from home, and started to sue the workplace. And then that puts the onus on the workplace to start getting out to everyone's homes and try and work out how they can make the workplace at home safer. It's madness.
It is madness, and it's creating so much upheaval for businesses, creating many people to even consider closing their business because it's just becoming too uneconomical for them to operate. And it's a real shame. And Sydney needs, as does the rest of the country, needs people back at work at least 3 to 4 days a week. And, if we don't do that, we're going to have significant productivity problems.
Do you agree with Paul O'Halloran, the Liberal for Mordialloc in Victoria, that there'll be a domino effect if the Victorians bring in legislation to say that you have a right to work from home for 2 days a week?
I think that will be the case. Although here in New South Wales, at least the Premier has been holding off and encouraging more government employees to come back to the office.
True.
But we can't allow it to happen. I mean, the great thing is that we're seeing now, and there's been a survey that's been done by Hatch Hots List that found that 2,000 young people, 90% of them want at least to be back in the office now, and nearly 70% want 3 or more days in the office, and 25% actually want to be in the office all the time. And the big issue that we've got, Chris, is AI. Look, I've put out a job ad just recently, and we've had over 400 applications. And the jobs that it will go will be in the marketing, PR, event space, and because AI will take up a lot of those jobs and tasks. And so employees, especially young ones, want to come into the office because they want to learn about things, they want to develop more skills, they want career development, and they want job security, which is really important.
Yeah. Look, every time I raise this, I've got to tell you that I usually get 1 or 2 callers who come in and say, that's not quite right. It makes me so much happier. I can juggle very important things in my private life as well. I'll end up still doing the hours, and gee, it's advantageous to me. There are instances where working from home can work, though.
Oh, it can. And can I tell you, COVID has given employees and employers that flexibility more than what it was beforehand. I mean, beforehand, it was frowned upon if you even were asked to go to a dentist appointment or pick up kids. Whereas now employers have made it more easier and more flexible, but they don't want to be taken for granted either, and they want to ensure that their businesses survive, and they want employers to be working and to be part of the overall growth and success of any business.
Good to get your views on all of this. Thank you very much for your time, Paul.
Thanks, Chris, and all the best to your listeners.
Thank you, Paul Nicolau, the Business Sydney Executive Director. Have you got a view on any of that? It will roll on. If the Victorians go ahead with this to begin in July next year, you can guarantee there'll be pressure in all jurisdictions, especially pushed by the unions and the ACTU, to bring it everywhere. You have a right to work 2 days from home. Boy, whatever happened to taking a job and then the boss decides where you'll be working to undertake that role? It's gone completely and utterly out the window.
2SM. Sydney traffic.
Lilyfield, City Westlink is slow onto the Anzac Bridge and Western Distributor all the way into the city due to a broken down truck. At Blakehurst, a truck broken down Princess Highway, Lane 1 southbound past King George's Road. If it's obvious you need great insurance, get GIO. Great insurance, obviously. Before buying insurance issued by GIO, read the PDS and TMD at gio.com.au and consider if it's right for you. I'm Ian Wallace, 2SM, 1269.
Live, opinionated.
Had enough of being lied to. A terrible budget, a really terrible budget. Now they're tripping over themselves to change it. We've had a gutful, and I think they've tweaked. Took them a while.
Taking on the big issues and the stories that matter to you.
Now, Bowen's office says the overseas travel was necessary to strengthen international partnerships and position Australia as renewable energy superpower. What a load of garbage.
This is 2SM.
Penrith's most trusted journalists, Western Sydney's most experienced team. Stay across everything that's happening in Penrith with the Western Weekenders new app. We've got Penrith covered with breaking news alerts, an easy way to read our newspaper, plus podcasts, special offers and more. The Western Weekender app. It's available now on the Apple App Store or Google Play. Download it now and be in the know thanks to Penrith's news leader, the Western Weekender. Download the app now on the Apple App Store or Google Play.
Did you know that Cobram Estate Extra Virgin Olive Oil supports heart health when consuming 2 or more 15ml serves per day as part of a balanced diet? Cobram Estate is made from olives grown in northern Victoria, which are harvested and first cold pressed within 4 to 6 hours to create a premium quality oil. That's why every bottle is fresh and full of flavour, making your food taste even better. Cobram Estate, premium quality, great tasting, and the most awarded Australian extra virgin olive oil.
For the hottest of hot water you've ever seen. Ream comes on steady, hot and strong. It just keeps on and on.
Ream Ambi-Heat, the advanced energy-saving heat pump that's made in Australia.
Install a Ream.
Accept nothing less than Australia's best.
What starts with A and ends with E? Supplements for you and me.
Arbor Vitae, Australia's favourite health supplements for the whole family, are now available in over 700 chemists and health food stores nationwide. Learn more at arborvitae.com.au.
A-R-B, then O-R-B, then I, then T, then A, then E. Arbor Vitae, Arbor Vitae.
Ask for Arbor Vitae at your favourite pharmacy or phone 1300 879 863.
Arbor Vitae.
This is 1269 2SM.
Good times never seem so good. I've been inclined to believe there never was.
Live on 2SM and the Super Radio Network, Chris Smith, across Australia.
Let's get to some callers on our open line. That number 13 12 69. Glenn in Cowra wants to talk about the reopening of Victoria Pass. Don't count your chickens, Glenn. There's a long way to go yet.
No, I don't. Thank you, Chris, for taking my call, and good morning to you and all your listeners. This is a bit of a subject that you might like to discuss with Mike, the Aussie trucker.
Yeah, well, I'll have him on Friday. That's a good topic.
What I've heard on your news, the last news just a moment ago, is that the federal government has guaranteed funding to the New South Wales government to build a new concrete bridge over the top of the existing bridge on Mitchell's Pass. Okay?
That was the report, yeah.
Yep. Now, when the Minns government came to power in New South Wales, there was already plans and survey work done to put a tunnel through the Blue Mountains to bypass Mitchell's Ridge and also the Rivulet Hill, okay?
But they haven't taken that option because it'll be into the billions.
I know it'll be in the millions, but at the...
No, billions. A tunnel through that area will be into the billions.
I know it will be in the billions, but please, there is bigger things here in that transport operators cannot operate a B-double over the Blue Mountains, okay?
Yep.
Anyone that operates a B-double has to split it at Russell Street at Emu Plains and then reconnect it back up where the road to Mudgee comes out at the hole in the wall in Lithgow.
Yeah.
Okay? So we've got people dropping trailers on the M4 motorway and then taking one trailer over the mountains and then coming back and picking up another trailer and then reconnecting up at Lithgow. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
If we want to take a B-double over the Blue Mountains and, say, out to Bathurst, we then have to come down through Cowra, down the Hume and out through Cowra, or up north and out through Singleton and onto the Golden Highway. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So the transport cost to the west, to transport operators in the west, is huge, with all these extra kilometres, and obviously that adds to the freight cost. Right? We desperately need a tunnel through the Blue Mountains so that we can run 25-metre B-doubles across the Blue Mountains.
Yeah, see, this is where our planning for major infrastructure falls short. I agree with completely what you're saying, but, you know, they take the shortcut, the short route, the cheaper route. We've got to appease people who use that route, so how about we just throw 100 million here and 100 million from you as well, and we'll come up with a rehash instead of doing the job properly from the get-go.
From the get-go. Now, the other thing that they haven't reasoned is if we put another bridge over the top of the existing bridge, that means that it will increase the angle of the grade westbound. It'll be more difficult for heavy vehicles to because the pinch point is actually coming up to Mitchell's Bridge. Okay?
Right.
It increases significantly, and now it's going to be increased even further.
Yep.
All the major breakdowns of vehicles happened on that approach to Mitchell's Bridge.
Yeah, you make a great point. If you're going to do this job, do it properly, and they've taken the cheap option, haven't they?
They certainly have.
All right, I'll raise it with Mike the Oz Trucker when we speak with him on Friday because it's an important topic. I may even get to him as early as tomorrow. we'll just see about his whereabouts, because it's an important point. And, yeah, they've done something, they've committed to something, a rebuild of that area, but it's in need of a tunnel, and it's in need of being able to take all comers, that is, B-doubles, the lot. So we'll try and get to Mike the Oz Trucker tomorrow on the program. Looking at the time of 7:15 this morning from the Australian Energy Market Operator, looking at these power sources, we're getting 3% of our power from batteries at that time, 7:15 according to AEMO. We're getting 1% from gas, we're getting 9% from hydro, we're getting 13% from solar at 7:15 and 21% from wind. The windy August conditions continue, but coal supplying 54% of our power, which brings me to home batteries. As you know, home battery installation has gone off the Richter scale, but those who bought home batteries or considering to buy home batteries to keep their solar systems going should be aware of this. A home battery caught fire just one day after it was installed, and internal documents now reveal the regulator moved to tighten inspections and compliance as Chris Bowen's multi-billion-dollar battery scheme ramped up. Now, the battery installed in WA caught fire on January the 22nd with internal communications from the Clean Energy Regulator saying the electricity network operator believed loose terminals caused an arc which sparked the fire. Now, the battery had only been installed the day before. And importantly, no taxpayer rebate had been paid for that installation. But the documents show the regulator later increased inspections of what it called high-risk installers. This is like pink backs all over again, including the company and technician responsible for that battery. In February, 0.9% of inspected batteries were deemed unsafe, with problems including fire protection, mechanical protection and incorrect labelling. That's not a high percentage, 0.9. And in another round of inspections, 62% of installations were found to be substandard, largely because of labelling issues. 62%, that is high. That comes as the government's cheaper home battery scheme has ballooned from an original forecast of $2.3 billion to $8.5 billion and more than 500,000 batteries now installed. The Coalition says the documents raise questions about whether the scheme was being rolled out faster than safety oversight could keep up. As I say, it sounds exactly like the dramas that occurred with that hastily convened pink bat scheme.
2SM, Sydney traffic.
Darling Harbour, broken down truck on the Western Distributor Citybound has been cleared. Traffic is picking up speed very quickly. Blakehurst, a truck broken down. Princess Highway, Lane 1 southbound past King George's Road. Census night was Tuesday, the 11th of August. There's still time to complete. In the census, every answer matters. Authorised by the Australian Bureau of Statistics, Canberra. I'm Ian Wallace with the latest traffic on 2SM 1269.
By now, you've heard about my March 2027 tour through the Netherlands, Belgium and France with Colette, and I want you to join me. Experience the classic architecture of Amsterdam, visit Holland's windmills and special tickets for the world-famous Pointercoff Gardens. We'll wander the charming cobblestone streets of Bruges, then taste our way through lovely France, immersing ourselves into the cuisine, breathtaking views and, of course, some champagne. Colette handles all the details. Interested in joining me?
Come and meet me and the folks from Colette to learn more on the 24th of August at 10:30am or visit 2SM or 2hd.com.au for details or call Colette on 1300 162 337.
Ozito brushless home and garden power tools are built to work. Tough isn't something you just claim. It's something you prove. It's about handling the hard, repetitive stuff without giving up. Testing what you're made of and what you're working with. When it comes to doing tough jobs around the home, do it yourself. Ozito brushless power tools. Do you. Only at Bunnings Warehouse.
Are you ready to kickstart your career? Choices Flooring is offering paid training for new flooring installers. A Choices Flooring apprenticeship pays you an income while you complete your accreditation in one of Australia's highest paid trades. work alongside experienced flooring professionals, and earn while you learn. At Choices Flooring, our Certificate 3 apprenticeships cover both residential and commercial floor covering installation. To join the team, simply visit choicesflooring.com.
Darren's days of digging blind are over. Ever since he blindly dug into that internet cable and took out an entire neighbourhood. Ever since his insurance declined to cover the repair costs. And ever since he saw that he was millimetres away from also striking a high voltage electricity cable. Don't be like Darren. Always search before you dig online before every job to avoid striking buried pipes and cables. Search before you dig online every time. And never dig blind.
Right now, you can get $3,000 off select model year 26.5 Rangers. Plus, you'll also get the first 5 general services free at participating Ford dealers now. Visit ford.com.au for details.
This is Sydney's 1269 2SM. Super Radio Network News Update, brought to you by Norwegian Cruise Line. Set sail with Norwegian Cruise Line, Europe's leading cruise line.
Diane, what's happening?
Thank you, Chris. 5 Sydney Swans players have been sanctioned and won't play for the rest of the year. Neighbours believe a tenancy dispute could be the cause of a fatal stabbing at Beenleigh, south of Brisbane, and Venus Williams has been offered a wild card for the US Open. We'll have those stories and more at the top of the hour.
Thank you very much for that. Yeah, that big story. Sydney Swans players Riley Bice, Nick Blakey, Isaac Heaney, James Jordan and Chad Warner will not be considered for selection for the remainder of the 2026 AFL season, which makes us all think of what may have gone on at 4 a.m. in the morning in that hotel in Melbourne after the Swans' victory over the Bombers. Let's go to Gavin Robertson from Talkin' Sport about this. Gavin, good morning to you.
Good morning, mate.
That's one hell of a punishment.
Yeah, look, it is. It's something that we're leading into 3 weeks before finals begin, and we're talking about a Sydney Swans side that's done incredibly well in the top 3 all year. And all of a sudden, they're going to lose 5 players. They're going to lose 3 players that are in their top 5. So it is a big issue for the club and the fans. But I think in not just sport, but in business and life today, these types of situations, this is exactly or generally what happens, and until investigations occur and outcomes are decided.
Yeah, it makes us wonder what really went on in those rooms, and obviously those on the board of the Swans last night sat down to work out a punishment, and they were given a little bit more information than what the public knew. But you mentioned about 3 of these players in their top 5. You're talking what? Isaac Heaney? Who else?
Well, Nick Blakey, Isaac Heaney, and also Chad Warner,
right.
Just their efforts over these last 2 or 3 years, they've been astonishing on the field. I obviously, in listening to just friends who are fans of the Swans, these 3 names generally come up in conversations on Monday after the victory or a loss. And so I can just imagine how fans, and I've already had 3 or 4 messages this morning from AFL, or primarily Sydney Swans fans, just they are obviously shattered, but they're actually, most of them are very much understanding of the situation. So, and two friends basically said they expected that this would happen. So that is as it is today, or such is life. That's the way it is today.
And the process of celebrating after a win for as long as they did, and then at 4 a.m. in the morning in your hotel, asking women to come into your hotel room, that is destined for disaster, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I also find that the game is not just AFL, all of the sports, rugby league, cricket, etc., netball. They're extremely professional. And you remember back to the sort of 70s, 80s and 90s when we were, young, and life was very different. You'd play a game and you'd actually go out, you'd be out and about. And life has changed so much. We're a very professional sporting country now. And, I know I've seen players finish games literally, go through the process of getting through physiotherapy, massage, cold showers, etc., dressed and home and asleep within an hour. So it is very different.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's sort of, the out and about stuff isn't as much as what it used to be, but I mean, 4 a.m. That's a pretty late night. So, but I mean, it's difficult for the fans, but it's a more so a bigger framework of how our country is now and how we look at things and how we go into things from a police perspective and investigations occur.
Yeah. Robbo, thank you very much for that, mate. Thank you for your analysis.
Cheers. Take care, mate.
Good on you. Gavin Robertson repeating, Riley Bice, Nick Blakey, Isaac Heaney, James Jordan and Chad Warner will not be considered for selection for the remainder of the season. So they've had one game to go, then the week off before the finals, and none of the finals. And they're sitting second on the table. Wow. Craig in Collaroy. Good morning, Craig.
G'day, Chris. I love your program. Chris, my birthday falls on the 15th of September, the great opening for the Sydney Olympic Games. And I love all my sport. I love my beloved Seagulls. And when the Seagulls don't do any good, I jump on the Swans bandwagon. I love the AFL.
Yeah.
But, Chris, on my birthday, going into the Sydney Olympic Games that night, alongside of me was Kamal and Ken Rose were alongside of me. I love all my sport.
People would pay thousands of dollars to sit next to those sporting greats.
Yeah, but Chris, with the Sydney Swans, I think after this game on Sunday, this is a good thought for the Swans to get back their dignity. I hope some of these AFL people will listen to this, to me talking to you now. After the game, after some games at the cricket ground, they have kick to kick when people can come on and walk around the ground. So I think the Swans staff right at the top, like Michael O'Loughlin and all the main staff and all the players should stay on the field on the Sunday afternoon after the game, so all the fans can come on and have their say to the players and staff.
Interesting. How would that go down? That wouldn't. They'd let off a little bit of steam, I think.
Get a bit of dignity back into the Swans, and So if any AFL Swans person is listening to this, that should happen on Sunday.
All right, Craig. Thank you very much for your contribution to the news. Louise in Lake Macquarie. Hi, Louise.
Oh, good morning, Chris. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Wonderful. Look, about this Swan saga, I am not condoning rape or anybody to be violated like that. But I asked the question of why did those girls, women or whatever they were, go back to the unit at that time of the night?
Yeah, not to discuss tactics on the football field.
Well, I do feel that these women should take some responsibility, like really at 4 o'clock in the morning after they've been drinking. What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah. Can I also add, just in your early suggestion, there's no talk of rape here. There's no talk of rape. There's talk of inappropriate touching. There's no talk of rape. So we need to ensure that until the police investigation is done and we find out what the specific charges are, we've got to be careful of that. Yeah, 4 o'clock in the morning is a terrible time to be out and about. As we know from our younger days, it's even worse when you mix grog with women.
I know people are going to say, well, women, we should be able to do what we want. But in this day and age, you really have to be mindful of what you are doing, and if something happens, well, you're going to take some of the blame as well as other parties.
All right, Louise, thank you very much for your input. Glenn in Newcastle. Hi, Glenn.
Yeah, g'day, Chris. How are you, mate?
Very well, thank you.
Listen, I was just listening to you about mentioning Chris Bowen's
batteries
and everything like that. I'm part of the local scout group up here, mate. We've actually just had to have the entire solar system torn off the roof.
Have you?
Place because it was dangerous.
Right. How? How was it dangerous?
Oh, it wasn't earthed correctly, wasn't installed properly.
Right.
Now, we've tried to get a hold of the people that installed it, and guess what?
Gone.
Don't exist.
Don't exist, yeah.
So now there's a battery in the hall. And I inside the hall, believe it or not. Now, I asked the young bloke, the young electrician, if he could hook it back up and see if it works.
Yeah.
So we've now got a battery inside the hall that nobody knows anything about because nobody's ever heard of the brand, and it's going to have to be pulled out and replaced as well.
Right, a mess. Because, you know, when we jump on these subsidy bandwagons as tradies and all of a sudden a plumber becomes a very, very expert battery installer, we end up getting crook jobs. And it's interesting that last inspection found 62% were somewhat dodgy.
Yeah, well, the bloke that put my solar in, I didn't go for one of those dodgy mobs. I went for one of those reputable places.
Right.
And he is actually an inspector that goes around and inspects the jobs. And he was telling me he was turning them off left, right and centre because they were just dangerous. Straight out dangerous. And when I said about batteries, he said, "Nah, mate," he said, "don't touch them for at least another 10 years." He said, because the technology isn't good enough yet.
Right, is that what he said? And he was someone who's been in the industry for quite some time.
Yes, he was running his own business, and he told me specifically, don't install batteries at this stage.
Yeah, where there's a big fat pit of taxpayer money, there's always a bunch of dodgies associated with it. Thank you very much for that, Glenn.
Yeah, you're right, mate. You have a good one, Chris.
Good on you. Thank you very much. Shane in Kempsey. Go ahead, Shane. Sorry for you waiting forever here, but it's been a busy day.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, Chris, it's okay. Yeah, I don't know if you've been talking about before about the government seems they're going to pick on the backpackers or itinerant fruit pickers.
Right.
And the farming community doesn't know what's going to happen.
No, I've heard some interviews in other programs, and they're up in arms because the backpackers supply such a very, very crucial workforce at various picking times around Australia, and they go from area to state to area. And for some reason, this is an area where Tony Burke thinks they can make some numbers up in terms of, you know, blocking visas. That they are not the visas we want blocked.
No, it's right. It's sort of like I was seen to be doing something about immigration. It's not. They're not immigrants. They're out on a visa and to have a holiday and spend money in the community and do a bit of work while they're there.
Yeah.
And the farmers, they need the crop's going to be ready next week. You know, they need them.
They need them crucially. This is not the area to start saving on numbers just to let the public know or the voters know that you're actually cutting down on immigration. It's not the way to go. Shane, thank you very much for raising that point. Gee, there are all sorts of rumours circulating on various AFL websites and social media platforms about what went on. The question that most alert observers are raising is, how do you get women at 4 a.m. in the morning? Unless they're prostitutes. If that is what's happened, and therefore someone within that group has been a party to that, no wonder they were given a season-long punishment. But that seems to be what all the AFL websites are suggesting. Anyway, we'll see where this police investigation goes. We'll take a break and back with more right here on 2SM and the Super Radio Network.
2SM Sydney traffic.
Alexandria, work on Mitchell Road is closed northbound between Sydney Park Road and Maddox Street. And Blakehurst, a truck broken down Princess Highway southbound past King George's Road. Paddy's Market, Haymarket is your ultimate city market. Open now with fresh produce, fashion, gifts, souvenirs and so much more. Visit paddysmarkets.com.au. I'm Ian Wallace with the latest traffic on 2SM 1269.
Since 1960, the internet was invented. Mobile phones took over the globe. And State of Origin was founded.
Clearing up there!
During that time, Nava has been lighting the way. For over 65 years, they've been a trusted name in automotive lighting and electrical. From premium driving lights and signal lighting to globes and auto electrical accessories, Nava has solutions for every vehicle. Built to perform from the first delivery to the final kilometre. Discover the complete range at nava.com.au.
Growing a business is rewarding, but cash flow pressure can be stressful. Supplier invoices, tax obligations, payroll requirements, it all adds up. Octet can power your business with smart business finance. From lines of credit to unlocking cash from unpaid invoices, Octet helps your business move forward. Plus, you can choose to earn frequent flyer points on eligible payments. So, keep cash flowing, seize growth opportunities and be rewarded. Find out more at octet.com. That's OCTET.com. Lending criteria and conditions may apply.
The game doesn't slow down, neither can you. Pressure rises, every second counts. Some traditions hold strong, the smart ones evolve. Quick repair or full rough-in, SharkBite Max performs under pressure. No heat, no glue, no downtime. Less time on one job, more wins across the week. Plumbers, stay ahead of the game with SharkBite Max.
Sheds come in all sorts of shapes and sizes, but if you're after a shed, go and have a word with the family-owned team at Best Sheds. The sheds at Best Sheds are up to a staggering 40% cheaper than the competition. Wow, 40%! Plus, all their sheds come with a 20-year manufacturer's warranty, and you can choose from the standard range or customise the shed of your dreams. So, come on, team, let's hit the sheds. Best Sheds, 100% Australian-owned and manufactured. Visit bestsheds.com.au.
For 50 years, Struddies has been helping local sports teams play and look their best. Whether it's kicking goals, scoring tries, smacking runs, to shooting hoops. That's 50 years where Struddies have done whatever it takes to make your team look its best when it plays its best. From local sports clubs to the school and business sports attire. Get your gear at your sports buddies. Struddies, Australian family owned and operated since 1975. Remember, shop with Struddies because they're your buddies. Gear up at struddies.com.au.
All the news and up-to-date traffic information you need. 2SM.
I've never been romantic, and sometimes I don't care. I know it may sound selfish, but let me breathe the air.
Live on 2SM and the Super Radio Network. Chris Smith, across Australia.
Let's go to Orange. Jeanette, hi.
Hello, Chris. How are you?
Very well. Thank you for calling.
My pleasure. I totally agree with the lady who called earlier about what females are doing at hotel at 4 a.m. And I think the reaction by the club is overkill before they get any results from the police. And
You think they should have waited until the police investigation wrapped up? The only problem with that, it could have taken 2 months.
so what? If those women are out there at 4 o'clock, what are they after? And besides, it could have even been a setup. You know, that they're in there to plan this and charge, you know, to get...
Yeah, look. There are rumours that at 4 o'clock in the morning, the likelihood is that they are prostitutes, not fans, turning up at that time. We've got to get
What's there?
Sorry, say that again. Just repeat what you've just said.
I don't care what they are. They're female, and they shouldn't have been there at that time of the morning after men are drinking, and it just doesn't make sense.
What if one of the players paid the women by credit card before they turned up?
What do you say? Organised them?
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's all right too. I don't know, but so what? The prostitutes take their chances. They take their chances all 24 hours.
Okay. Appreciate your input in there. I've had emails saying very similar things to what you have said. It'll be interesting to see how this pans out. It is National Science Week, so we're getting a little peek inside the lab again today. We're looking at something a lot of Australians have seen, even if they've never used one themselves. Dr. Jodie Moller is a chemical toxicologist at the University of Wollongong, and her job involves pulling apart electronic cigarettes and working out exactly what's inside them. Jody Moller, thank you very much for your time.
Hello, Chris.
Let's start with something parents and grandparents might actually want to know. If your teenager or grandchild is vaping, would you necessarily know? Are there telltale signs?
No, I think that's one of the biggest things that sets their vapes apart from cigarettes is that they are able to be used in a really stealthy way. So you don't always know. Sometimes if they're producing large vapor clouds, you can obviously see those and you can smell something that's fruity, but that fruity smell is very similar to, if someone was eating lollies or if someone was using particular deodorants. So it can be very, very difficult to identify.
Okay, you mentioned fruity. For those who have smoked cigarettes in their life and haven't touched a vape, they would find a replacement cigarette tasting fruity as odd.
Yeah, absolutely. But interestingly, even ex-smokers seem to prefer the fruity types of flavours in their e-cigarettes. All of the data that we've got suggests that those fruity types of flavours are preferred across the board by everybody.
Okay, you've tested thousands of them. Are they as, how would you call, addictive as a normal packet of cigarettes are addictive?
Absolutely. So what we've seen in the last few years is a real increase in the amount of nicotine that these companies are putting into the products. And obviously nicotine is the dependence-forming chemical that we have in there. So the higher the nicotine, the more likely it is that someone develops a dependence. And the companies that are manufacturing these are being very, very clever. So not only are they putting lots and lots of nicotine in there, they're also putting other compounds that cover up the burn that you get in the back of your throat associated with the nicotine. So they add these special coolant molecules, and that allows them to put even more nicotine in.
So you've got coolant molecules, you've got that fruity essence in some form, and then you've got the nicotine. What else is bad in a vape?
Yeah, so obviously the main other things it's the stuff that wasn't intended to be in there. So obviously when we heat these up, there are some other molecules that form as part of that process. So when we heat up the solution, some new compounds form, and those are largely things like formaldehyde and acetaldehyde and things that we know are carcinogenic.
Right.
They are present in lower concentrations than in cigarette smoke, but they're still there and they're definitely not good for you to be inhaling.
Okay, so vaping is damaging.
Oh, absolutely. There is no doubt about it. We shouldn't be inhaling anything but fresh, clean air at any point in time. But it also then very much depends on where you're sourcing your e-cigarettes from, because at the moment we have a set of e-cigarettes that are available through a legal market. They're sold through chemists. There's limits to the flavours that we're allowed to have. And those products tend to be fairly stable, contain fairly predictable compounds. What we see, however, on the illicit market, which is a lot of the disposable e-cigarettes that you see out on the street with people using, those have a huge range of contaminants in them. So even the manufacturers aren't always aware of some of the dangerous compounds that are present in their compounds because they're sourcing their chemicals from cheap sources.
Okay. Am I right in saying that some of them, and presumably the more dodgy product, can overheat and catch fire?
Absolutely. So that's obviously another issue when you get having some of these more dangerous illicit products is lower quality batteries where we can get, that's right, a rapid sort of discharge of the energy in the battery. So these batteries have quite a lot of energy in them. They're lithium-ion batteries in most of these devices. So if they let go, it is you can actually cause some quite significant burns.
Right. What's going to happen? Because presumably, although we have laws that say you can't access certain vapes, the kids in particular are accessing them easily. How do we get around that? Because we've seen what's happened with cigarettes. You put the price up right through the roof and all of a sudden you've got a black market and still the same supply.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we're seeing in the e-cigarette market as well. So the e-cigarette market at the moment is largely a black market in Australia. We're seeing a range of both over-the-counter stores and online websites still selling these illicit black market products. And obviously the concerns there are around the fact that you can't regulate a black market, which means we don't know what is in the products.
Yeah, it's a real worry. Jody Moller, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
All good. Thank you, Chris.
All right, chemical toxicologist at the University of Wollongong through this National Science Week, Dr. Jody Moller. Let's go to the open line board. 13 12 69 is the number in Coogee. Adam, go ahead.
Good morning, Chris. I just want to say two things. One, I rang about the ISIS prides, but I want to make a comment about their illegal cigarettes.
Yep.
We need to reduce the tax to stop the black market, to stop the organised crime. Not just that, we need to be putting more money into Border Force and stopping these illegal cigarettes and illegal vapes coming into the country by scanning the containers, by investing the money to stop this. That will stop the organised crime and lower the tax, because then we won't have fire bombings, we won't have police have to investigate all these places getting burnt down, people getting hurt, these drug lords and organised crime making millions of dollars out of it. We can stop this trade overnight if Mr Albanese just agrees to drop the excise a little bit, and Pauline Hanson's not saying to do it in the wrong way. What she's got a really good point that we can stop this organised crime by cutting the excise, then people will buy cigarettes that are affordable. And I don't condone cigarettes. Cigarettes are bad for everybody. We shouldn't have them anyway, but you can't stop people doing stuff. But what you can do is cut the tax.
Yeah, exactly. And that everyone's doing that. Canada's doing it, and it's proving relatively successful. I've only got a minute left. ISIS wives.
Julian Assange got banned for 10 years to come in this country when the female Prime Minister was in power, Gillard. Albanese has the power to ban these people from coming back into this country. They made a choice to go out. I'm running for the seat of Kingsford Smith at the next federal election. I'm going to make this a big election issue to actually ban them and bring legislation through the parliament to stop these people from coming back here and ruining our way of life by putting their ideologically beliefs on normal Australians.
Okay, appreciate your call, Adam. Thank you very much for that. I've got to take a break. We'll get some news for you. And then after 11 o'clock, we're going to lighten the load somewhat. Moxo's got his contribution for today. And on top of that, we've got to talk about on your L's, learning how to drive and some of the amazing stories that have occurred in your life, either teaching or being taught.
2SM, Sydney traffic.
Lakehurst, a truck has lost part of his load. The Princess Highway, lanes 1 and 2 closed southbound at King George's Road. Alexandria, work on Mitchell Road. It's closed northbound at Sydney Park Road. The 40 Winks House of Temper sale is here. Up to 50% off Temper mattresses and bases. Hurry, ends Sunday. T's and C's and exclusions apply. 40 Winks, serious about sleep. I'm Ian Wallace with the latest traffic on 2SM 1269.
Australia, the 7-seat Isuzu MU-X is as versatile as you are. Enough style and tech for your long weekends or the long way home. Up to 3.5-tonne towing capacity and 2.2 or 3-litre engine options for touring around the country or just across the city. The Isuzu MU-X is made for all the ways you go your own way. Love how you live in the Isuzu MU-X. Visit your Isuzu Ute dealer today.
At Bunnings Trade, no matter where you are, we're here to help. We have trade specialists in-store dedicated to you and your trade. Whether it's sourcing supplies, quoting on jobs, or arranging delivery direct to site. And our builders team with dedicated account managers has got you covered at every building stage, from the front fence to the back gate. Plus, you can call our Trade Assist team on 134872 for quick quotes on a wide range of supplies, saving you time and hassle. Bunnings Trade. Helping business is our trade.
For repairs and maintenance to your strata unit, complex or commercial building, you need Network Construction Services. With over 70 years of combined industry experience, Network Construction Services are Sydney's most trusted remedial builder. Whatever it is you're after, the experts at Network Construction Services will complete your job on time, within budget, and to the very highest standards of workmanship. Find out more at networkconstructionservices.com.au or call Steve Chain on 98 08 56 73.
Top fullbacks run over 9 kilometres a game. That's sustained performance. Just like Host Plus, who have sustained strong long-term returns over 20 years. A top-performing super fund? That's a plus. Issued by Host Plus Pty Limited. Past performance is not a reliable indicator of future performance. Consider the PDS and TMD at hostplus.com.au before deciding. Search Compare Host Plus today.
For 185 years, Elders Real Estate has been embedded in the fabric of our country. So when it's time to buy or sell in your part of Australia, you need a trusted name. Someone who knows Australian real estate like no other. Who understands that it's not just a house. It's your past. It's your focus. It's your future. Someone with a network that runs deep right across Australia. There's one name you can rely on. Elders Real Estate.
2SM Super Network News.
Good morning, I'm Diane Coveney-Garland. 5 Sydney Swans players will not play again this year. The AFL club has handed down its sanctions. Isaac Heaney, Chad Warner, Nick Blakey, Riley Bice and James Jordan have all been stood down for the rest of the season. Victoria Police continue to investigate allegations of sexual assault after a drinking session at the Pullman Hotel. The Swans chairman and CEO will address the media later today. 2 members of the federal opposition crossed the floor to vote against the government's gambling reforms. Pat Conahan and Andrew Wallace both voted against the changes. Rebecca Thorpe from Gambling Harm Lived Experience Experts says the changes are pathetic and play into the hands of the gambling sector.
They want gambling harm to continue because that's how they make their big profits. And some of them, those profits get donated as well to the major parties, so that's quite convenient. That will mean that gambling harm will continue and it will continue to wreak devastation across our nation and be literally taking lives and ruining them in the process.
A second person has been charged over the alleged stabbing murder of a man south of Brisbane. The 66-year-old was involved in an altercation with 2 people believed to have been a neighbourhood dispute in Beenleigh. Police charged a 47-year-old with murder, while a 43-year-old woman has now been charged as well. They'll both face court today. Triple mushroom killer Erin Patterson's case is back in court. Her legal team is appealing against her life sentence and 33-year non-parole period for the murders of her in-laws, Don and Gail Patterson, as well as Gail's sister, Heather Wilkinson. At the same time, the prosecution is also appealing and is pushing for a harsher sentence and no chance at parole. Justice system navigators will be rolled out across New South Wales to support victim survivors of sexual violence. They'll work with the survivors as they navigate the justice system. Minister for the Prevention of Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault, Jodie Harrison, says it's backed by Commonwealth funding as well.
It's really aimed at helping them right through the justice system to provide them with understanding, a better knowledge, so that they can make informed decisions right through the process of whether they choose to report and go down the court system or how they choose to deal with the sexual assault that was made on them.
Quest apartment hotels have been hacked. A database system was targeted through a third-party service provider. The information involved relates from records from before June 2025 and involves names, email addresses and some contact details. And move over Bondi, there's a new best beach in town. It's Manly. Manly's been named the best beach in the South Pacific in TripAdvisor's Traveller's Choice Awards. In sport, Simi Sasangi will be back on deck for the Canberra Raiders when they play the Broncos tomorrow night. Josh Papali'i will be playing in his final home game for the squad. Hayes Perham will replace Reece Walsh in the Broncos squad. Walsh has been ruled out for the remainder of the season after undergoing ankle surgery. Ben Hunt will line up at halfback. Tom Duffy will be on the bench. West's Tigers' Adam Dewey will miss the rest of the NRL season as he undergoes a shoulder reconstruction. Melbourne's Jacob van Rooyen will miss 3 AFL games after his striking ban was upheld by the tribunal. His arm struck Port Adelaide's Aliir in the head during the game on Saturday night and Alir failed his HIA test. Venus Williams has been handed a wildcard entry into the US Open. The 7-times Grand Slam winner was eliminated in the first round at Flushing Meadow last year. In finance, the All Ordinaries is down 21 points at 9,253, one Aussie dollar 70.78 US cents. This is Super Radio Network News. Cloudy with the chance of a shower and light winds becoming northeasterly. We're heading for top temperatures of 20 in the city, 22 in the west. Looking further ahead, possible showers tomorrow, Friday and Saturday. At the moment in the city, it's 14 degrees, 15 at Bankstown, 16 at Penrith, 14 at Richmond, 16 at St Mary's. That's the latest news. Now, Chris Smith across Australia on 2SM.
Good to have your company. Hour number 3 on the program. Shortly, I want to hear your stories about learning to drive or teaching someone to drive. And did it end in a crash? Did it end in family war? It does. It does too often. As a matter of fact, most driving instructors will say, get a professional driving instructor because mum and dad are not great drivers and they pass on their bad habits to their kids. We'll talk about that in just a short moment. But Donald Trump is not happy with his senior advisor and son-in-law, Jared Kushner. Have you hearing that? He's had something to say about the media yesterday, but he's also not happy with Jared. So naturally, he picked up the telephone to give him a little bit of advice on how to talk to Benjamin Netanyahu.
Okay, can you get me on a hookup with Jared Kushner? I need to talk to him. I've got a few people here that they're going to give him some advice. They're good people. They're former presidents. They're going to advise him how to speak to Benjamin Netanyahu. So get him on the line, will you?
Jared Kushner, can I help you?
Yes, your father-in-law here. Now, I'm going to give you some advice before you go over there to see Bibi, okay? You just can't go storming in. You can't do that. You know, he's Jewish. You got to understand.
Of course I do.
Well, you got to understand there's certain protocols. There's things you got to do and not do. You know, you got to get it. You got to understand. You know, you got to make sure you don't do things like you can't feed him pork or anything like that. You know, you can't offer him anything that's not kosher. You got to be really careful. You know, these people are good people, nice people, but you got to be really careful. Just hang on a minute. I got Joe Biden on the line. He wants to give you some advice. I'll just plug him through. Go ahead, Joe.
You told me you gotta go and visit. He's gonna visit. You're gonna do what? I think the answer is a tree.
How would that help? But anyway, just a second. We got Bill Clinton, former president. He's a good guy. He's a really nice fella. You know, he and we got a lot in common. You know, we both loved islands. Go ahead, Bill.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Well, that's not what I wanted to talk about. What are you talking about, Bill? Get off the line, would you?
Wait a minute. I just want to talk about the Epstein thing. Come on, Donnie, I need your help with it. You gotta help me.
Oh, anyway, where were we? Yeah, okay, the Jewish faith, they take it really seriously. You know, when you're over there and you get to Israel, you gotta be really careful. You know, they're really sensitive about certain things, you know, especially things, you know, the way things have been happening lately with all the anti-Semitism and everything.
But, Papa...
No, just listen to me. You can't interrupt, Jared.
Papa, listen to me.
Wait, what? What is it?
Not sure if you know or not, Papa, but I'm Jewish.
Oh, geez, right, okay, well, why didn't you say something?
Oy vey, I couldn't get a word in edgeways.
If I were a rich man,
Thank you, Moxo. Thank you. A little bit of a lack of communication in the White House between relatives. Now, there's one thing your mother and father definitely don't forget. which is the first time they put you behind the wheel of a car, mainly because they were probably scared to be there with you. Have you ever thought of that? That's how we feel, sitting in the passenger seat. Oh, my goodness, what's going to happen now? But one popular Sydney spot where generations of parents, including yours truly, have taken their kids to learn, at least in those first couple of lessons, and to do it off limits like outside the main busy thoroughfares, is Callan Park in Rozelle in Sydney. It's a favourite for L-platers for decades. Quiet roads, 10 kilometres an hour speed zones, plenty of space to get those first nervous hours behind the wheel. There are areas between the various buildings. This is the former psychiatric centre. Various areas between the buildings where you can do, 3-point turns. They're like quadrangles where you can teach someone how to brake properly, how to park. It's terrific, especially right at the very beginning when they're very scared of getting behind the wheel on a busy road. And I've done that. But learner drivers have apparently been banned from the park since 2020, according to the Telegraph today. And Greater Sydney Parklands has now started enforcing this rule. $150 fines for teaching someone to drive there. Now, I don't know whether you've been in Callan Park at Rozelle, but it's very, very quiet. Maybe a little busy on Saturdays, but during the week it's very, very quiet. You might come across one or two cars, but they're going 10 kilometres an hour. There are little cul-de-sacs where you can, manoeuvre the vehicle without getting in the way. And how is it different? Like if you've got an L-plate driver and you're teaching that L-plater to drive and you can get onto a motorway or any kind of road, why is that different and why couldn't it be similarly that you can go to Callan Park, given the fact that they are roads too? They are used as public roads. One mum says she was teaching her daughter how to drive when a ranger allegedly drove closely behind them, flashed his lights and honked the horn, with the mini confrontation causing her daughter to hit the curb. The mother says she had no idea there was a ban because she hadn't seen any signs telling her. Are there signs in that Callan Park? And it does raise the question, where are you actually supposed to take a learner driver for their first few hours? If, of course, they're too scared to get on the road. Now, I took my daughter to Callan Park. We did, I think it was maybe 2 lessons, like 2 3/4-hour lessons, and then straight onto the road. And she's a terrific driver, Ashley. So Callan Park has been the go-to for generations because it's quite slow, relatively easy to navigate. But what right do they have to say you can't park a car on an area that's considered public? Like there are football fields just down the bottom of Callan Park, and that's the route that many, many families take to get to the soccer and football fields. But it got us thinking in the office this morning about those driving experiences you're best forgotten about. The first terrifying few lessons and the heavy braking and the whiplash that mum and dad get in the passenger seat, and how it's interesting, isn't it? If you have a particular relationship with your kids, it can absolutely ruin that relationship in the front seat as you tell them, stop, indicate, and if you don't go about it the right way, it can cause all sorts of tears and dramas. And look, there are people who have got in their car with maybe their father and their mother, and they've just realised, I can't be taught to drive by that person. And so they go to the other parent. Has that happened to you? Have you taught your kids to drive and they've smashed the car? There are some examples that we've learned about this morning among the staff here, where they've smashed the family car. And when that happens and you've got an L plate, you know what usually goes on? The parents have to fork out the cash to pay for the repair because it's not covered under their comprehensive insurance. And so many others then go, listen, this is getting too tetchy between you and I, so where's the professional driving instructor for you? And then mum and dad just give up. And what about mum and dad's driving traits? If mum and dad are the key teachers, well, their bad driving traits are going to be handed down to their kids. Did that happen? And do you have kids or grandkids that are terrific drivers, but others who aren't so terrific? A lot about learning to drive is about, taking risk and whether a person is a risk taker. But your bad driving instruction stories, maybe you can give us a call on 13 12 69. John in Newcastle, go ahead.
Yeah, g'day, Chris. Mate, I want to have a chat with you about the tobacco and the vaping
stories
rolling around. Hopefully I'll have time to get to the end of what I want to say in the elephant in the room, because it's never discussed, the elephant in the room.
Okay.
But anyway, I was 12 years old when I started smoking. I'm now 64. I've smoked all my entire life. Over the years, I've just watched the tobacco price go up, and I've begrudgingly paid for it. About 15 years ago, I heard about this new smoking product called vaping, and I looked into it, and vaping stores were starting to open up in my neighbourhood, around Newcastle, Lake Macquarie. They were regulated. They were licensed. You could not get in there unless you were over 18 years of age. Okay? So I switched from cigarette smoking to this new vaping. Now, the little vaping machine cost me around about $100.
Yeah.
I'd go in there, and as I said, these are like adult sex shops. They are all blacked out. You cannot see in them from the street.
Black market.
Well, no.
No.
They were regulated. They were licensed.
Right. Okay.
By New South Wales government. They were right, and they were legal. They were properly operated.
But they were dressed up as a bit of a black market shop.
No. What I'm trying to say to you was, you couldn't see into them. The general public, they're like your adult shops. You know what I mean? They were hidden, but they were licensed and they were legal.
Okay.
And I'd go in there into these shops and I'd buy my vape juice. Now, the vape juice were all different flavours, but there was no nicotine in them. What you would have to do, you could legally import nicotine in small bottles from the United States and New Zealand, where you still can get it, and I'd put it in my fridge and I'd mix up my little vape juice with a required amount of nicotine that I needed to get me through the day.
Aha.
Now, I can tell you, I no longer stank of cigarettes. My kids never told me I stank. I never woke up in the morning coughing up phlegm like what's now happened. So when Labor got in, Mark Butler, he designated that this vaping shop, that all the licenses were revoked. All these legitimate businesses shut down, right?
Yeah.
Then what happened then was the black market then came in, and all these disposable vapes started flooding into the market. Now, mine wasn't a disposable vape. My machine cost me over $100. Okay, and I just kept topping it up, recharging the batteries and topping it up. So then the black market came in. All the kids started going into the convenience stores and buying these Mickey Mouse. I've tried them. They're terrible, right? And then what happened then was the illegal tobacco started coming into the market. So what did it do to me? I switched to the illegal tobacco. And now what's happening now is the illegal tobacco shops are getting shut down, but then another one will open up, and you can find them in anywhere. You just got to ask questions, Chris, and you can still get it. Now, the question I've got is, I can buy a carton of cigarettes, black market, for $140, or I can go into my local Woolworths and pay $450. Now, why in God's name would I pay the money? And
which is why we've got a black market and why gangs are killing each other for a share of it.
You know what? I don't like organised crime, but I'm quite happy to give them my money instead of giving it to damn Albanese. And yet, what's happening now, Chris?
What?
You can now buy the cigarettes by having a telephone number, and you give them your card details, and they will quite happily post the cartons out to you via Australia Post. Doing it now.
It's all out of control, isn't it?
100%, mate.
Yeah.
What they need to do is they need to allow these licensed, proper regulated vape shops to be reopened. That'll get me off the damn nicotine cigarettes, and hopefully I'll live a little bit longer, happily vaping, but vaping legally.
Okay, John. Okay, that's an interesting way ahead. But yeah, it is a mess, and he's just described why it's a mess in so many ways. We will take a break, come back after that and take your driving instructor driving lesson story right here on 2SM and the Super Radio Network.
2SM, Sydney traffic.
Blakehurst, truck has lost part of his load. Princess Highway, lanes 1 and 2 closed southbound to King George's Road. There are delays. Mount Tomah, work on the Bells Line of the road, traffic heavy in both directions. Whether you're moving, decluttering your home or office, or heading overseas, let Storage King help you start your new chapter. Stuff it, live more, search Storage King today. I'm Ian Wallace with the latest traffic on 2SM 1269.
Penrith's most trusted journalists, Western Sydney's most experienced team. Stay across everything that's happening in Penrith with the Western Weekenders new app. We've got Penrith covered with breaking news alerts, an easy way to read our newspaper, plus podcasts, special offers and more. The Western Weekender app. It's available now on the Apple App Store or Google Play. Download it now and be in the know thanks to Penrith's news leader, the Western Weekender. Download the app now on the Apple App Store or Google Play.
Did you know that Cobram Estate Extra Virgin Olive Oil supports heart health when consuming 2 or more 15ml serves per day as part of a balanced diet? Cobram Estate is made from olives grown in northern Victoria, which are harvested and first cold pressed within 4 to 6 hours to create a premium quality oil. That's why every bottle is fresh and full of flavour, making your food taste even better. Cobram Estate. Premium quality, great tasting, and the most awarded Australian extra virgin olive oil.
Well, the hottest of hot water you've ever seen. Ream comes on steady, hot and strong. It just keeps on and on. Install a Ream. Install a Ream. Install a Ream. Install a Ream.
Ask your plumber for Ream, Australia's #1.
What starts with A and ends with E? Supplements for you and me.
Arbor Vitae, Australia's favourite health supplements for the whole family, are now available in over 900 chemists and health food stores nationwide. Learn more at arborvitae.com.au. Ask for Arbor Vitae at your favourite pharmacy or phone 1300 879 863.
Are you ready to kickstart your career? Choices Flooring is offering paid training for new flooring installers. A Choices Flooring apprenticeship pays you an income while you complete your accreditation in one of Australia's highest paid trades. Work alongside experienced flooring professionals and earn while you learn. At Choices Flooring, our Certificate 3 apprenticeships cover both residential and commercial floor covering installation. To join the team, simply visit choicesflooring.com.
News, information and entertainment. This is 2SM.
I've never been romantic, and sometimes I don't care. I know it may sound selfish, but let me breathe the air.
Live on 2SM and the Super Radio Network, Chris Smith. Across Australia.
Okay, so what's the best advice? If you're teaching someone, say a daughter, son, grandson, granddaughter, should you be teaching them yourself? I guess at a cost of living crisis, that's the cheaper option. But will it make them better drivers to do that, or should you be spending money on driving instructors? Maybe some driving instructors out there might be able to give us a little bit of advice on that. And what do you say to your child when he or she smashes the family car? It's accidental. They don't know how to drive yet. Did you freak out, or did you realise that this was an emotional thing for them to experience? an engineer, and so therefore you were soft and polite despite having to fork out thousands of dollars to fix the family car. It happens. It really does happen. Graham, good morning to you.
How are you, mate?
Very well, thank you, Graham.
You're probably leaving out the very basic step, which is almost illegal. When they're in the passenger seat, you should have them holding the wheel about 7 or 8 o'clock.
7 or 8 o'clock, but isn't it? I thought it was 10 and 2.
No. They're sitting in the passenger seat. You're the one in control of the car.
So you have leant over to hold onto the steering wheel.
They have. You haven't. This is before you put them on the road.
Oh, right, okay.
You're driving the car.
Right, I'm with you.
Control of the car.
Yeah.
They're from the passenger seat, and that's the target area you go for. If something's going to go wrong, the driving instructor will go for that section of the wheel. They can push it up, pull it down, and they get a quarter of a turn.
Yeah, it happened to me. I went to a driving instructor as a kid because Dad and I used to have Barneys in the front seat about, driving. So he gave me a driving instructor, and that's what the driving instructor did. I remember that now.
Yeah, so what you do is you have them there and they hold the wheel to see how little they need to move it when they're travelling straight, but they do have to keep adjusting it or it'll just float off.
Yeah.
I remember taking a young Asian lady that I don't think she'd ever been behind the wheel of a car, but she had an overseas licence.
Yeah.
So what happened was, as we were leaving the curb, I had to turn the wheel to miss the parked car in front. And then I had to pull the wheel back so she didn't hit a car on the other side.
Stop. What a nightmare.
For about 100, 200 metres up the road. And she got a bit of an idea what was going on. But all you do is you get them used to the steering. Then when you put them behind the wheel, don't let them take off. Let them move it up a metre, see what it's like. They only need to relax the pressure, not take their foot off the brake pedal.
Right, relax the pressure, don't take the foot off the brake pedal. Interesting.
Yeah, just ease it up until you'll hear your brakes. They actually talk to you before they let your car roll.
How long have you been a driving instructor?
Have a guess.
40 years.
Plus.
Right. What's the worst that's happened?
Oh, I've had to dive on the brake and pull the wheel round.
Right.
And that would have been a guy wanted to pull into a bottle shop on the way back so he could take a bottle home with him. And this was in a truck. Into the driveway, and I had to slow him down so he didn't wipe anything out.
Stop. And have you ever had Barneys with the person you're instructing?
I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
I had a fella that came, an older chap, came from the North End. He wanted his HR licence. And I said, my HR's only got a Road Ranger in it. That's all right, he says. And I was talking to him about what he was doing, but he wasn't making any adjustments.
All right.
So I raised my voice a bit more decibels and to get over the noise of the truck. And after you do it about 3 or 4 times, you can see him flinching.
Yeah.
So one day he said, you're yelling at me. And we'd made one turn from the yard. And he says, you're yelling at me. I said, that's all right. Just find a spot here and we'll pull up. So we'd pull up. I said, now, you reckon I'm yelling at you? Yeah. I said, well, when I talk to you normally, I don't get any response. It was raise the decibel.
This is like a conversation I have had with my kids many times.
Yeah. And you get to the stage where I'm now bloody up the decibels.
Just listen to me.
Have you heard me?
I'm with you, Graham.
How he says.
Fantastic. Fantastic. You're not still instructing, are you?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Still, he fixed his problem in 5 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, as the kids do at home. Graham, thank you very much for that. I want to get to as many callers as I can. I'll go to Jackie in Sydney. Go ahead, Jackie.
Oh, hi. Good afternoon. Just wanted to make a comment on the driving. The kids driving these days.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm Australian now. Been here 49 years. I got my license in 76 in France because I was living there.
Licence in France?
Over there, in part of France, and Marseille, and down the south of France.
Uh-huh.
So I migrated from Spain there. So the thing is, in France, it is illegal for parents or anybody who's not an instructor to teach anybody to drive.
Is that the rule in France? Parents can't teach kids?
Yeah.
Wow.
No, you can't teach anybody.
Why?
Why? Because people have bad habits and you pass that on.
Yeah.
I've seen adults making mistakes that are dreadful, and I've never seen so many accidents in France as I see here.
Right. We're hopeless drivers, you think?
No, it's just that some people are, and then they teach their kids. And that's why the mistake is, because I know too many teenagers who have died.
So, generation to generation, we're passing on all the bad habits, and maybe Australia should adopt the same system that operates in France, you think?
Yes. I mean, the French drivers, they drive fast, but they're very good drivers. I've never seen so many accidents over there as I've seen here, especially kids at school. We had 4 kids in a car gone. And I know other families who have lost kids. Why? Because the kids, in front of friends, they show up a little bit, they speed. And then when the speed is there, they haven't got the reflex or the knowledge or the brain.
Yeah.
Hang on, I can't do that.
That's interesting. That is a great insight, an international insight, Jackie. Thank you very much for your call. Maybe that's what we should do, because we keep complaining about the fact that we don't teach kids to drive correctly. We actually teach them only to steer and to go through and pass a licence, which is different to giving them the skills to drive and be able to handle difficult scenarios. So maybe we need to get a little bit more professional with this and say, okay, no more parents, step aside, let the pros come in.
2SM, Sydney traffic.
Blakehurst, a truck has lost part of his load. The Princess Highway lanes 1 and 2 closed southbound to King George's Road. Now traffic is delayed in the area. And Yaguna, a car broken down Hume Highway eastbound near Auburn Road. Power up Android at Telstra. Discover great deals on the latest Android phones on Australia's best mobile network. Visit Telstra today. I'm Ian Wallace with the latest traffic on 2SM 1269.
Live, opinionated.
Had enough of being lied to. A terrible budget, a really terrible budget. Now they're tripping over themselves to change it. We've had a gutful, and I think they've tweaked. Took them a while.
Taking on the big issues and the stories that matter to you.
Now, Bowen's office says the overseas travel was necessary to strengthen international partnerships and position Australia as renewable energy superpower. What a load of garbage.
This is 2SM.
When a will is contested or a family member feels left out, it's rarely just about money. It's personal. I've spent close to 40 years working through these disputes, defending estates, representing beneficiaries, helping executors do their job properly without the process dragging on for years. If you've got a genuine case, we may act on a no-win, no-fee basis, so you're not carrying the risk alone. Szabo Solicitors, szabosolicitors.com.au.
By now, you've heard about my March 2027 tour through the Netherlands, Belgium and France with Colette, and I want you to join me. Experience the classic architecture, narrow canals and centuries-old stone bridges of Amsterdam. Visit Holland's storied windmills at Kinderdijk. Enjoy special tickets for the world-famous Coindekhof Gardens. We'll wander the charming cobblestone streets of Bruges, taste our way through France, enjoying a tipple or two at Champagne House. Glide along the Seine River, savouring delicious French cuisine and Paris's celebrated landmarks. Enjoy breathtaking views and legendary cuisine at an exclusive Eiffel Tower dinner. Colette handles all the details. Your only job is to have the time of your life with me. Interested in joining me? Come and meet me and the folks from Colette to learn more on the 24th of August at 10:30am, or visit 2SM or 2hd.com.au for details, or call Colette on 1300 162 337.
Ozito brushless home and garden power tools are built to work. Tough isn't something you just claim, it's something you prove. It's about handling the hard, repetitive stuff without giving up. Testing what you're made of and what you're working with. When it comes to doing tough jobs around the home, do it yourself. Ozito brushless power tools. Do you? Only at Bunnings Warehouse.
2SM, Sydney. Super Radio Network News Update, brought to you by Norwegian Cruise Line. Set sail with Norwegian Cruise Line, Europe's leading cruise line.
Diane, what's happening?
Thank you, Chris. 5 Sydney Swans players have been sanctioned and will not play for the rest of the AFL season. 2 Sydney casinos have been fined after a teenage boy went on a drinking and gambling spree, and incoming New South Wales Blues coach Brad Haddin has slammed changes to the Sheffield Shield. We'll have those stories and more at the top of the hour.
Thank you very much for that. Just getting back to that lead story that Diane told you about and the fact that these 5 Swans players are gone for the rest of the year. The Swans Club will hold a news conference at midday, so we should have more information for you after that. But a news conference has been planned, no doubt outside their headquarters in Moore Park at midday. Now, Jacinta Morris, who is a producer on this program, young person, has just released some information to us here in the cone of silence within the Castle of Common Sense that I thought was too incredible to just leave off air. So I've asked her to come in to tell us her experiences in learning to drive and who she was taught by. Hello?
Hello.
So tell me about your driving experiences, first of all, with your mother.
So Mum, she came from Thailand and she came to Australia for Dad. She learnt how to drive in Thailand, and when she was driving in Australia for the first time, she would drop me off at primary school. And there was a speed camera at one of the roads, and it got her 10 times.
Did she not understand what a speed camera was?
No, she didn't know what the flashes meant, so she kept going.
The flashes.
And
they're taking photos of my car. It must just be a great car to drive. Okay, so she's racking up all of these speed fines until someone said,
yeah,
you
so
can't do this.
Dad got numerous letters from Service New South Wales, and he was like, I'm not driving past this, to work. I don't understand who's doing this. And then he figured out it was Mum, and Mum would look at the letters, and because at the time she couldn't read that much English, she just thought it was all like markets.
Were you taught by your mother?
Yes. So Mum eventually got her, I think, an international license, and then when I was ready to get behind the wheel, Mum taught me. We used to argue a lot, so I actually would prefer Dad taught me, but he was always at work.
So there was some argument going on in the front seat about how you should be handling the steering wheel.
100%. There'd be times I'd be turning left and then she'd grab the wheel and we hit the curb together. Like, it was pretty dramatic. But now that since getting my full license, I have also got a couple of speeding tickets myself.
Have you?
Yeah, more than Mum. And I reckon that's her trait that I've learned myself.
Proof positive, listeners. Thank you, Jacinda. Thank you very much for your story. See, proof positive. Maybe the French listener was right. Parents should have no say, no influence on the way their children drive. Get out of the passenger seat. Keep it to a professional driving instructor. George in Newcastle, tell us about teaching your son to drive.
Don't do it. Lucky to be alive. I tell you, Chris, lucky to be alive. Anyway, I'm a driver. I got my heavy truck driving licence when I was around 20 years of age. I'm in my mid-60s.
Yeah.
I used to drive at Liverpool Speedway and smash up derbies.
Oh, great fun.
Yeah, it was great fun. Good days. It was fantastic. So I knew how to handle a car. I knew how to drive. Well, I got my young bloke in the paddock driving, drive the track and drive the... And anyway, he come of age and he's I've got to teach him, he got his health, I've got to teach him how the rules and regulations on the road. So he drove the ride on lawnmower okay, but so I thought he was sweet. So anyway, off we go. We leave our house and we're on about a 5-kilometre road before we come to a T intersection, which is a highway.
Yeah.
A little Toyota Corolla T-bar order, And he's just knocked off work. Come on, Dad. Come on, let's go. Righto. So we saddle up. Away we go. We're heading down the road. Anyway, we're approaching the Highway T intersection. We're probably 100 metres from it. I mean, we're probably doing 60 kilometres, 70 kilometres an hour or something like that. And I said to him, start to pull up. And I said, now you got to hit the brake, start pulling up. Well, he did. But the car was going faster and faster. I said, hit the brake. He said, I am. Well, his stupid work boot was hitting the throttle.
Oh, no.
And we're rocketing towards the T intersection. Luckily, with my mouse, I've slipped the T-bar into neutral, ripped the handbrake on. We slid to a halt sideways parallel with the traffic going left and right, about 4 foot from the highway.
It's like a scene from a thriller car movie.
We looked at one another, and I said, what was that all of? I said, have a look at your boot. He said, your boot was on the throttle with the brake, and the throttle overpowered the braking system where I slipped it into neutral and ripped that amp. We done the biggest broadside and pulled up. Well, anyway, leave it to the professionals.
That's a good lesson. Another of the same lesson. Can I ask you this? Can I ask you one thing? What sort of a driver is he today? Seriously.
Well, he has his heavy vehicle truck driving licence, and he drives big rigs, and he's pretty good at it.
Well, maybe that death-defying episode taught him something.
Well, well, he's always got that inkling in his head what occurred, so I don't think he wants to ever go through that again. Yeah.
I can hear that. Thank you, George. Appreciate your call. Now in Mudgee, Janet has got a story for us. Go ahead, Janet.
I lived in Bosley Park, and on it, my uncle had a piggery, and he was going to teach me to drive. And I was in a Chevrolet truck, and near the feed shed, he asked me to reverse it, and I reversed it right into the power pole that controlled the feed shed.
No.
And I had my foot on the brake, same as the guy just said, brake and accelerator at the same time. So that was the end of that driving lesson. And then after that, I moved to the area where I'm in, Mudgee area now, and I was 60-odd k's from the hospital where I was working, and I used to live in the nurse's home and catch the school bus home or to Cassilis, and then someone would pick me up, and I thought, well, it's time I learnt to drive again. So I went to, bought a car off a local, a little Tirana, and I was, anyway, I started to learn to drive around the farm, and then I was gone with a parent also, driving like around Merriwa area and sort of Cassilis area.
Yeah.
And then I decided to go to get my licence, and I thought I was ready. Anyway, I came across one of the local policemen, which we knew pretty well from working at the hospital in different areas. And I went to the guy, I was friends with the wife of one of the sergeant, and the one that was underneath him. I thought I'll go for my driving lesson with him.
Yeah.
I went for my driving lesson with him, or driving test, I mean. I went to my driving test, and first words he said to me, "How are you?" And I said, "I'm fine, thanks." He says, "Well, we'll see how you are after this." Well, that undone me totally.
Yeah, it would have.
Yeah, and then I ended up making one mistake, and he said, "Well, sorry, you can't have your licence today."
So you failed your practical?
I failed the first one, yes.
Right. Oh, you know what I did? I failed the theory.
No, I passed the theory. That was theory.
Well, no one fails the theory. They get the theory right, but they fail the practical. I passed the practical and failed the theory.
Oh, right. And then I went to the sergeant because I looked after his wife, and we've come close over the time I was there. And he was teaching me some driving lessons. And he said, "Come, we'll go up to the round the back of the council and do some practice with your reversing and this, that and the other. And I said, we should put our L plates on. And he said, look, it's all right, don't worry. And
only in the bush.
Yeah. Anyway, we were going up there, and lo and behold, the other guy turns up, and he says, what are you guys doing here? And the sergeant said, look, I'm helping Janet with driving. She wants to get her licence. Anyway, that all turned out right. And because I was friends with the other family, I still went with the one under him. And anyway, I got it the second time.
Oh, you got it the second time. I know people have had to sit it for 8 goes before they get anywhere near getting a licence. That happens too. Good on you, Janet. Thank you very much for your call. Bernadette in Queensland. Hi, Bernadette.
Hello.
What are you going to tell us?
Well, I'm a grandparent.
Yeah.
And I used to live in the bush.
Yeah.
And I taught my kids to drive, but we had a salt pan out there, so we used to go out there.
On a salt pan?
Yeah.
No danger to traffic there?
No danger to traffic, not many trees. You can turn around and teach them to drive as much as they wanted.
Perfect. Maybe that's the lesson. Find your nearest salt pan and do your lessons there.
Yes. And I've taught grandkids to drive. My granddaughter went for her.
Well, Bernadette, we've lost you. You must have been on a mobile and it's flicked off. Let's go to Linda in Bathurst. Linda, what's your story? No, Linda's gone. Julie in Leichhardt. Hi, Julie. No, Russell, Mudgee. We've got a problem. I'll go to a break, come back and pick up those calls and see whether we've got a gremlin there that we could chase away. Right here on 2SM.
2SM. Sydney traffic.
Alexandria, work on Mitchell Road. It's closed northbound from Sydney Park Road to Maddox Street. Blakehurst, the truck's lost part of his load. Princess Highway, Lane 1 closed southbound at King George's Road. This week, score 10% off all seats, all flights with AirAsia. Fly from Sydney to KL and connect to over 150 destinations. Book your escape now at airasia.com. I'm Ian Wallace, 2SM 1269.
Imagine being rushed to hospital.
Yep.
And your life changing in an instant. Imagine going through hundreds of tests and 46 weeks of chemo. Now imagine you're a child. That's why Starlight exists. To bring happiness to seriously ill children. Please donate at starlight.org.au.
Darren's days of digging blind are over. Ever since he blindly dug into that internet cable and took out an entire neighbourhood. Ever since his insurance declined to cover the repair costs. And ever since he saw that he was millimetres away from also striking a high-voltage electricity cable. Don't be like Darren. Always search before you dig online before every job to avoid striking buried pipes and cables. Search before you dig online every time. And never dig blind.
Since 1960, humans have landed on the moon, demolished the Berlin Wall, and Aussies have won 13 men's and women's cricket World Cups. During that time, Nava has been lighting the way. For over 65 years, they've been a trusted name in transport lighting. From premium driving lights and signal lighting to globes and auto-electrical accessories, Nava has solutions for every truck. Built to perform from the first delivery to the final kilometre. Discover the complete transport range at nava.com.au.
Growing a business is rewarding, but cash flow pressure can be stressful. Supplier invoices, tax obligations, payroll requirements, it all adds up. Octet can power your business with Smart Business Finance. From lines of credit to unlocking cash from unpaid invoices, Octet helps your business move forward. Plus, you can choose to earn frequent flyer points on eligible payments. So, keep cash flowing, seize growth opportunities, and be rewarded. Find out more at octet.com. That's OCTET.com. Lending criteria and conditions may apply.
The game doesn't slow down, neither can you. Pressure rises, every second counts. Some traditions hold strong, the smart ones evolve. Quick repair or full rough-in, SharkBite Max performs under pressure. No heat, No glue, no downtime. Less time on one job, more wins across the week. Plumbers, stay ahead of the game with SharkBite Max.
This is 1269 2SM. Live on 2SM and the Super Radio Network, Chris Smith, across Australia.
Yes, we've got that gremlin by the nostrils and thrown him outside the studio, the Castle of Common Sense, and now we've got a whole heap of new calls. But Julie from Leichhardt, you're online. Go ahead.
Hi, Chris, up the Rabbitohs.
Yes, please, Julie.
In the 70s, my father tried to teach me to drive. Now, his greatest love in the world except South was his driving. And so he thought, I'm a great driver, I can teach my daughter to drive. So we used to go every Christmas up to my uncle's farm out near Molong. And he just drove me around. I'm driving in this old ute. And he says, right now, we're just going to drive down here and park next to the house, the farmhouse. I said, oh, no, Dad, I don't want to do that. Yes, love, you can do that. You can do that. So driving down, didn't put my foot on the brake, so nervous, didn't put my foot on the brake and drove straight under a wheat truck.
Oh.
Right? Literally, I swear, Chris, the back of the truck was in front of our faces.
No.
Capitated, I'd never know. Then he didn't learn his lesson with that. So later on, we're at Five Dock, Hen and Chicken Bay, Five Dock, and he says, I want you to reverse backwards down this slight incline, and at the end of it was Hen and Chicken Bay. I said, oh, no, Dad, I'm not ready for that, Dad. Oh, yes, love, you can do it, you can do it. So then I start to reverse, and I'm zigzagging across the whole road, literally stopped at the edge of Hen and Chicken Bay. He said to me, I think we'll get you driving lessons.
That sounds very reassuring, but it's probably an assurance that you need real help.
Yes. So I got my driver's license first go.
Good.
The lessons helped.
Yeah, I bet they did. Well, they're professionals. It makes sense. Good on you, Julie. Thank you very much. Steve and Foster. Go ahead, Steve.
Hi, Chris. Thanks for taking the call.
That's okay.
I'd like to first advocate for formal driver lesson training. I'm a grandparent. I've taught so far 4 grandchildren, 3 children. They can all drive buses, cars, trucks, 4-wheel drives and motorcycles, and they've done quite well. But they've also had formal training. I did that back in the 70s. I went to Barnes Training School, and it was wonderful. I had a lady instructor.
Oh, the old Barnes, they were everywhere.
Mate, they were, and she was lovely. And can I say her name? She maybe
sure.
Beautiful. Bev Warrener. Never forget her. She was brilliant. Best thing out.
Great.
To teach me, and I picked the most. I said I'd like to learn on the most difficult car to drive. So it was a manual transmission, old Tirana with no synchromesh on first, and on column change gears. I wanted to learn the hardest car. I went on then, and I got a motorcycle licence. No formalised training back then. You turned up, did a lap of the block, answered a few questions, you got your licence. I thought, that's terrible. So I went and enrolled in what just came out was Stay Upright motorcycle training, which is now common. Absolutely brilliant. And I learned how crap I was as a motorcyclist. Wrong attitude, wrong skills. Absolutely amazing. I didn't die. And it was my sole means of transport, 30,000 Ks a year.
How good. And, you know, I've had the same experience. When I went and did my motorcycle licence, I went with the same mob. It taught me so much about how to drive a car properly.
Well, isn't it incredible? And you know what? It sounds horrible, but if everyone had learned that first, particularly learning a motorbike, geez, you'd be a good car driver by the time you got there.
Correct. Well, most of the motoring experts say we should be doing what they do in Europe, and part of the curriculum at high school is, in year 11, for instance, in year 10, is to go to some of these defensive driving courses and learn properly.
I think it's brilliant, and I couldn't agree more. And in fact, when I decided, well, I've got 10 grandkids and I'm going to teach them, our community where I live, the council puts on a training course held by a former policeman and driving instructors, and you do exams and you have lessons and lectures. And so I thought, I'll learn how to be a good teacher. And I tell you what, it was an eye-opener. And one of the tips he gave me, he said, when you go home and do online tests, don't do it with your grandsons watching. And I said, won't worry me, I won't get nervous.
Uh-huh.
He said, no, mate, he said, if you get an answer wrong, they'll never let you forget it.
Yeah, correct. Good on you, Steve. See if I can fit in Brad in Newport. Go ahead, Brad.
Yeah, Lismore, New South Wales, buddy.
Oh, Lismore, not Newport. Go ahead.
Yeah, now, when we were all in about year 9, my dad and all the boys in the clade, we'd get driver, practice lessons from Dad. Dad would take me out to the dirt road, or me mates, Dad would take him onto a secluded paddock or somewhere out in the middle of nowhere. And me mate Luke turned up to school one Monday morning and said he got driving lessons off his grandfather. I said, where'd he take you? He said, he said he took me to the local thoroughbred racetrack in Casino. So they went. So the grandfather got the car onto a horse race track, obviously a big, massive circle horse race track that probably goes for 2,000 metres. Round they went, and I tell you what, it was one of them stories he didn't really want to tell us because we were all laughing our guts off.
Yes, because he was training him to be a race car driver.
Pretty much. And we went round it, and they had the grounds people there watching him, but it would have been a slow trip around that racetrack, and his grandfather mustn't have trusted him much to put him on a dirt road out in the middle of nowhere.
Well, that was the ultimate in mistrust, isn't it? To be fenced off and on grass.
100%, mate. Oh, gee, we got a laugh out of it.
How amazing. Good on you, Brad. Thank you very much for that. I've run out of time to take calls. I can't believe it. Well, we've got a stack more that wanted to, talk about those great memories, those early driving lessons and how they've gone awry and how they got tearful and how they almost went over a cliff. Some of those near misses, just extraordinary. But thank you very much. I'm sorry I couldn't take everyone today. It was one of those topics that people have all got experience with and like to talk about. But we're only 4 minutes away from our news bulletin.
It's something unpredictable, but in the end it's right. I hope you had the time of your life.
Great stories. Thank you so much for being part of the program today and the terrific contributions you've made, especially on the open line. It is greatly appreciated.
It's something unpredictable, but in the end it's right. I hope you had the time of your life.
More to come at the same time tomorrow morning. I look forward to your company in the Castle of Common Sense on 2SM and the Super Radio Network.
Well, 2SM, Sydney traffic.
From the Domain, the ED tunnel picking up speed southbound to Moore Park. The broken down vehicle has been towed. Alexandria work on Mitchell Road is closed northbound from Sydney Park Road to Maddox Street. For children fighting cancer is one thing, fighting adult treatments is another. Donate to the Children's Cancer Foundation to help fund gentler, kinder treatments for children. I'm Ian Wallace with the latest traffic on 2SM 1269.
Census night was Tuesday the 11th of August. The census is compulsory for every household. There's still time to complete. Visit census.abs.gov.au or call 1800 181 227. Authorised by the Australian Bureau of Statistics, Canberra.
Sheds come in all sorts of shapes and sizes, but if you're after a shed, go and have a word with the family-owned team at Best Sheds. The sheds at Best Sheds are up to a staggering 40% cheaper than the competition. Wow, 40%! Plus, all their sheds come with a 20-year manufacturer's warranty, and you can choose from the standard range or customise the shed of your dreams. So, come on, team, let's hit the sheds. Best Sheds, 100% Australian owned and manufactured. Visit bestsheds.com.au.
For 50 years, Struddies has been helping local sports teams play and look their best. Whether it's kicking goals, scoring tries, smacking runs, to shooting hoops. That's 50 years where Struddies have done whatever it takes to make your team look its best when it plays its best. From local sports clubs to the school and business sports attire. Get your gear at your sports buddies. Struddies, Australian family owned and operated since 1975. Remember, shop with Struddies because they're your buddies. Gear up at struddies.com.au. When you drive an Isuzu D-Max, you'll find adventure is everywhere. With up to 3.5-tonne towing capacity and 2.2 or 3-litre engine options across the D-Max range, you're sorted. Anytime, any task. Since 2008, thousands of Aussies have relied on their Isuzu D-Max to go their own way. And they'll tell you, adventure is everywhere. Go find yours in the Isuzu D-Max. Visit your Isuzu Ute dealer today.
At Bunnings Trade, no matter where you are, we're here to help. We have trade specialists in-store dedicated to you and your trade. Whether it's sourcing supplies, quoting on jobs, or arranging delivery direct to site. And our builders team with dedicated account managers has got you covered at every building stage, from the front fence to the back gate. Plus, you can call our Trade Assist team on 134872 for quick quotes on a wide range of supplies, saving you time and hassle. Bunnings Trade. Helping business is our trade.
1 in 3 people will need blood in their lifetime.
But only 1 in 30 of us donate.
Over 100,000 donations are needed this month. Do something special. Give blood. Call 13 14 95 or visit donateblood.com.au.
2SM. Step into the castle of common sense.
Love the show, totally addicted.
Thank you. Chris Smith, weekdays from 9.
In this bulletin, the Swans have 5 players sanctioned. They won't be playing for the rest of the season. Good news for residents of Central West New South Wales and a mixed bag for the Australians in the Cincinnati Open. Good afternoon, I'm Diane Coveney-Garland. The 2026 AFL season is over for 5 Sydney Swans players as a woman in Victoria makes an official complaint to police. Isaac Heaney, Chad Warner, Nick Blakey, Riley Bice and James Jordan have all been suspended for the remainder of the season. Swans chairman and CEO will address the media shortly. The woman at the centre of the allegations has completed a formal statement and written complaint about what allegedly occurred at the Pullman Hotel. Sydney's 2 casinos have been penalised after allowing a teenager to gamble. The Herald reports the 16-year-old boy was using fake ID when he spent tens of thousands of dollars on the gaming tables. The Crown and the Star have been fined a combined $2.25 million by the Independent Casino Commission. He went to the casinos multiple times and consumed a number of alcoholic drinks while on the premises. Angus Taylor is defending himself against claims he didn't push hard enough to strengthen the gambling laws. 2 coalition MPs crossed the floor, saying the reforms don't go far enough. But the opposition leader says he thinks they've got it right.
It'll get the balance right between people having a bet, and they should be able to have a bet, and at the same time making sure there's protection for the most vulnerable, the kids, for those who have got gambling challenges and they want to deal with those, and that's the balance we've sought to strike.
The Albanese government's matching the Minns government's $100 million funding for work on the Great Western Highway. A stretch of the highway has been closed at Victoria Pass since March after a bridge built by convicts started to crack. New South Wales Roads Minister Jenny Aitchison says the extra money will result in an additional eastbound climbing lane.
This is a critical corridor for freight and for connectivity of the Central West into Sydney and into the Blue Mountains. We've got boots on the ground and work is already underway. This partnership between the New South Wales and Australian governments and our contractor will deliver a safe, resilient and long-term solution for motorists, that local community and freight operators.
Businesses affected by the closure of the Great Western Highway say an extra lane is good news, but it's not enough. Calare MP Andrew Gee says businesses are still closing.
What we need is an ongoing business support package like we had with JobKeeper during COVID.
Our businesses need this state and federal government support now. The pressure is not stopping here with this announcement.
Triple murderer Erin Patterson is back in court today as she tries to have her convictions overturned. Patterson is serving life in jail with a non-parole period of 33 years for the mushroom murders of her in-laws Don and Gail Patterson, as well as Gail's sister Heather Wilkinson. Her lawyers are appealing on 7 grounds. Parents of premature and ill babies in the neonatal intensive care unit of a hospital in Sydney's southwest can now see the infants around the clock. The Angel Eye camera system has been set up in the NICU at Liverpool Hospital. New South Wales Health Minister Ryan Park says that means parents and carers can view the babies in real time.
These children and babies are cared for around the clock in special intensive care units, and now this is an opportunity for parents, no matter where they are, to view their baby and see how it's going, as well as communicate to an incredibly hard-working and specialised clinical staff. And I want to really advocate for the staff for really pushing the government to introduce this type of technology.
Police are investigating a fatal stabbing in Sydney's inner south. Christy Warner reports.
Police were called to the Waterloo apartment block just after 7 last night, finding a man with stab wounds. He was rushed to hospital but died a short time later. A woman also in the Pitt Street unit at the time was assaulted and is suffering minor injuries. The homicide squad is now on the scene and is working to identify the man believed to be in his 30s. In Sydney, Christy Warner, Super Radio Network News.
The trial of former broadcaster Alan Jones continues in Sydney. Complainant C is giving evidence again. The man previously told the court Mr Jones kissed him while he was holding a briefcase and jacket, and he was unable to push Mr Jones away. That testimony has been cross-examined by Mr Jones' lawyers, who argue it was made up. The former broadcaster maintains he is innocent. The federal government has rubbished One Nation's commitment to slash the tobacco excise. Rhys Sullivan reports.
The pledge has had a ripple effect, with New